we are away here at Snetterton. Gordon bounces there. Gordon goes into the back of Harrison, doesn't get this one. And he throws the car in. Harrison wins. Palmer second. Gordon third. Got a car on the grass, several cars off. Vicentilot's getting tagged and he's out of the race. And off on the grass. Harrison takes the win. It's going to be Gordon's championship by my mathematics. Good morning, everybody. A very warm welcome to the Mini Challenge UK official eSeries round one on the Donington Park configuration. Richard John Neal here with Anthony Williams, Championship Director of Mini Challenge. Anthony, good morning. Very warm welcome to you. Great to be working with you again.
Good morning, Richard, and you too. It's a lovely day in the real world.
It is in both.
Racing will follow up.
I think it will. We had a dress rehearsal, didn't we, earlier on in the week, and we had some stunning action brought to us, and I'm guaranteeing that we're going to be blown away with what we're going to see today. With here's the calendar, first of all, over the next 8 weeks. Obviously, Donington Park configuration today. Brands Hatch Indy next time out next week, so make it a regular thing to join us. Silverstone National after that. Silverstone International, our fourth event. Then off to Snetterton. Croft is round 6. Penultimate event at Knock Hill. That's going to be fun. And then the full circuit, Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, wrapping things up on the 11th of July. The championship officials in the background really keeping things as real to life as possible. Race director, as you can see from our graphic, is Rich Hayden. We have a clerk of the course as well, who is going to be looking after things. So it's all official. And we've already heard some of the things that race director Rich Hayden's been saying to the drivers in the warm-up. He's been taken so seriously to keep this as real as possible. Now, whilst we're saying that, we have also got a mix of sim drivers coming in as well, the cream of the UK sim racers coming in, and they're going to be battling it out with the real world drivers. Here's what we're looking at over the next couple of hours. Qualifying kicking off at midday, and then 2 20-minute races. Race 2 is going to be a reverse grid race. Top 10 will be reversed for race 2. And then we'll go on to the second part of our double header, which will be at 1:30. That's our second qualifying, and then we'll repeat the format once again with 2 20-minute races. Championship points will be accumulated, obviously, over the 8 events, the 8 double headers that we are having. And there are points for fastest lap, pole position, and of course race as well. 50 points for a race winner, 44 for second, 40 for third, so on down to 15 points for every finisher of each of the races. Now, I was talking about the entries that are coming in. The pros, including the likes of Ethan Hammerton. Of course, we've seen in Clio Cup, Theo Bridgeman, Fiesta Racer, Josh Hislop, Lewis Brown, who's been a regular in Mini Challenge last couple of seasons, Luke Kidsley, James MacIntrye, Callum Newsham, son of Dave Newsham, Max Bird, Max Coates, who's been very instrumental in this as well, Alex Toth-Jones for MSL Motorsport. They're an important name for us, one of our partners involved in this series coming together. And of course, in addition to the pros, we have the Sim lads, as some people have been calling them. Still going through the pros here, as you can see, Kit Economy from the Mini Challenge there, Will Fairclough, Billy Hardy, ex-Oval driver, Josh Martin, Rob Butler, Isaac Smith, who was quick in the week, Rue Clark, Frankie Taylor and Brad Hutchison. Brad was quick as well in our dress rehearsal earlier on in the week. Thursday evening we did that with some 10-minute races, and it was very, very interesting to see. And we had an absolute nail-biter of a finish in race 2. Absolute corker, and we're hoping we're going to get the same today. As we mentioned, the sim racers have some top names. Dave Marshall grabbed a win in the practice race. Tobin Lee was keeping him honest. We've got James Merrills, Jack McIntyre, Tom Williams was up there as well, Simon Reed, Jordan Brennan, Matt Richards, Kenny Press, Ryan Elliott, Scott Thorne, Thomas O'Farrell, Craig Timmins, and Damien Hall. Damien, I think, has done a video for us, which we're going to see a little bit later on. And we're going to focus on Tom Farrell as a featured driver for this race. We're going to be talking to you a little bit about sim setup over the course of the rounds, just to give the regular race fans a bit of an idea about what's happening in studies and bedrooms and wherever the race is doing it over the course of the 8 rounds. Number of very good prizes available for the championship as well. Now, without going into too much detail, the top real world driver will receive a virtual racing club full sim setup and 12 simulator sessions with VRRC, and the top sim driver will receive a mini challenge Cooper class race weekend with full driver coaching. There are lots of other prizes as well, and we'll give you much more detail about that and who our partners are as the weekends unfold. So plenty to look forward to. Great list of drivers taking part. It's been so competitive in testing in the build-up between the sim drivers and the real-world drivers, as we will refer to them as well. And you really do get the feel, don't you, about Donington? This is actually a view. I've not had a Donington before, but absolutely spot on, absolutely superb. Anthony, I guess you're as excited as me looking forward.
You're staying to the left of the track, setting up medium brake for the old hairpin. Rotate the car, use all the track within limit, both at the apex and the exit. Full throttle all the way up to the next braking zone of McLean's. Now we're arriving at McLean's. It's hard braking at the end of the curb on the left. Get the car rotated and use all of the track on exit within limits. From staying left for coppice, it's a blind apex. Use all the track at the apex within limits. You need a good exit here, both to defend against a rival or to attack. We're on the last straight, Dunlop. We're looking far ahead, setting up for the chicane. Hard brake, turn in, be aggressive for the chicane, but be wary of the sausage curbs. Use all of the track on exit within limit, and it's a straight sprint to the lane to end a lap of Donington Park National. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy the entire challenge. I'll see you around.
Well, apologies, we had a little cut off there whilst we had a run around with the Barbadian, Damien Hall, car 246, the Apex event car, the 37-year-old, as we said, from Barbados. Superb run around this Donington Park circuit. And the question I was asking, which I think we got cut off, was just asking Anthony Williams, how much are you looking forward to this? A lot of work got into it, Anthony.
A huge amount of work's gone into it. The team at Virtual Reality Racing Club have put in all that work to put everything together. But going back to really excited to see this. The warm-up race that we saw, it was so close, and I think the thing that surprised me most was just how similar in terms of pace the sim races and the real-world races were. I think the anticipation was that there would be two quite distinct classes, but that clearly is not the case. As most of the time it was roughly half and half at the front of the pack, mini challenge, real world races and sim races.
Very close indeed. And I think what we're looking for is the chance for the top sim racer, or indeed all the sim racers are going to get some track time with mini challenge, but the top will get a racing weekend. It's going to be absolutely fascinating to see how that goes once they get on track. But yes, some real competitive races, and it's actually been the real world racing drivers who have been effectively trying to play catch up a little bit over the last couple of weeks as testing has gone on.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some data on the number of laps of testing, and there are certainly some people that have put in the hard yards to make sure they get up to pace. Yeah, hundreds and hundreds of laps in some cases.
So getting ready for our start of qualifying. 20 minutes of qualifying. Max Coates was chatting to us just beforehand, and uncharacteristically for Max, I've been chatting to him over the last few weeks about other championships and competitions that he's been involved with, and he's been sort of ducking out and going in sort of halfway through the qualifying sessions for other things. This one, he actually disappeared a good 20 minutes before, which just goes to show how very, very seriously he's taking the build-up into this weekend, this first event, and he knows that every single point is going to count. And talking about points counting, that's very much what the drivers have been. That's the message that's being drilled. It's a absolutely 100% serious and professional competition that has been put together for all these drivers. And to back that up, you've got the entry list actually mirror some of the team names that we see in the regular championship.
Yeah, it was really important to us that this was very much a translation of the real world mini challenge, and we want to continue that over the coming months and years, in fact, so that the two run very much side by side. You know, looking at the idea of having a winter series in the sim racing world as perhaps some form feeder into the real championship. So there's lots of things that we're planning on doing here, and obviously the wider world with COVID-19 has been what's prompted us to put this together. We've been thinking about it for a while, but now we've actually done it. So perhaps there's something good that comes out of it.
Absolutely right. And we could get the crossover with, I think we're seeing, like, obviously a lot of real world drivers have been doing sim practice sessions to learn tracks and to just get familiar with cars and circuits, but we're seeing a lot more sim drivers now wanting to come into the real world as the circuits now start to open up for testing. We've got 17 minutes left on qualifying. Things are settling down out on is top charts at the moment with a 1:23.86. Now I think we could say that there's going to be a lot more to come out of that. Matt Richards is running second from Max Bird. So we've got Luke, the real world driver, who I know through Clio Cup and Formula Jedi as was going back in the day, but now we're starting to get the first flying lap times coming in, and it's Dave Marshall, isn't it? Again, straight on it, Dave Marshall. That's an impressive first flying lap, actually.
Very much so. I think if there were a bet on this, I think he'd be one of the people that would be odds-on favourite, certainly from the the warm-up races that we did earlier in the week. He is, you know, consistently fast, right up there at the front.
Nice guy as well. It was absolutely fascinating to interview him afterwards, because we're going to do it again like a real race. At the end of the race, there's no flicking an off button for the drivers. They have to do the slowing down lap. They'll join us in a virtual parc ferme effectively, and then we'll have a chat to them. And Dave Marshall was really great to talk to. You think that he'd been through the media training as well. Watching Max Bird in the 44 car, just on the inside line there, coming out of Coppice. But Alex Toth-Jones at the moment is in second place. Josh Hislop currently third. Jordan Brennan, again, mightily impressive as we watch Max Bird in the 44 car. Jordan was very impressive in the test run, and he's in the same livery as Callum Newsham, which you'll spot. And for those of you who have listened to me wittering on about Legends cars or Clios or whatever over the years will know that I was always referred to Dave Newsham's car as the Northcott vending machine. But actually got two Northcott vending machines out this weekend, and Scott doing a good job. Callum Newsham at the moment in 10th place. Max Bird gets it sideways there, I think, collecting it up pretty well. But that again just goes to show you how real this is. And at the moment, the grid's starting to take a little bit of shape. Dave Marshall is at the top still. There in the 55 car is Tobin Lee, Lazarus Esports entered car. Teenager from Bath is Tobin. Again, was quick in our first run in the earlier on in the week. But it's so competitive. Look at the times at the moment: 1:31, top 10, down to 1:13.7. Jack MacIntrye currently 10th. Callum Newsham is 11th. Sean Brennan at the moment is going to have bragging rights in that team. I was chatting to his dad, Nick, the other day, and I've had the pleasure of knowing those guys for a long time. Lewis Brown, 14th, he's going to be one to look out for as well in the 39 car. The challenge racer from last year, ex-Ginetta GT5 Challenge champion, came up through the Ginetta Junior route, so was racing against the likes of Lando Norris. That's Josh Hislop in the 58, the Kinetic Motorsport car, the 18-year-old from Port Leather. Our focus driver for, we're going to pick, Anthony and myself are going to pick a driver for each race that we'll have a chat with after the race. Not necessarily, we will talk to the winners obviously, but we're going to try and make sure that everybody over the course of the season gets a chat. And Anthony, we've picked Tom O'Farrell for our first victim.
Sounds good.
He's from Isla in one of the Scottish. I need to look that up actually, but Holiday Homes Isla Racing. Tom O'Farrell, he's 7 car, and so we're looking forward to having a chat with him. To watch James Merrill's Motorsport, 23-year-old from Barnsley. It's rather a lot of people worryingly from Yorkshire. I mean, they're all from all over the place, but there are a lot of Yorkshiremen. But then when we look at
they don't all team up against the rest of the competitors.
I hope not. Yeah, wasn't it the Olympics where Yorkshire actually won more medals than some other countries when they divided it up a couple of years ago?
That's an interesting stat, isn't it?
Jack MacIntyre in the 37. He's there, and let's have a look where Jack is at the moment. He is rounding out the top 10 at the minute, and Josh Hislop now takes over. Dave Marshall dropping into 3rd, so Dave Marshall's got work to do, and Tovin Lee goes into P2. Luke Kidsley 4th, then Rob Butler. Rob was quick again on Thursday night in our warm-up session, and then James Merrill's was 6th, but is demoted now for the top 6 by Lewis Brown in the yellow and black Lawrence Davey prepared car. There's Rob Butler in 74. Suspension Secrets car. He comes from Cheshire, so he's obviously going to be looking forward to hacking around all Park once we get there. And 12:30 on the clock to go. Rob Butler, as you said, very quick midweek. One of the real world drivers. There's Alex Toth-Jones.
Richard, same for Lewis as well, wasn't it? He was quick earlier in the week too, so there's definitely a bit of form building.
Absolutely right. Yeah, I think this is all about. I know my son has a go, not at this level, but it is very much about practice and keeping on. There's Alex Toth-Jones in the MSL Motorsport and car. MSL, one of our partners, the MSL Motorsport consultancy. You've seen that in the introduction video we had. HTC Vive, OBP Motorsport, NGK Sparkplugs UK, Mini Challenge UK, Virtual Reality Racing Club, all valued partners in our first Mini Challenge UK official eSeries. So a big thank you to them for their very valued support. So Josh Hislop still there at the moment in provisional pole position here. Toby Lee 2nd, Jack MacIntyre up to 3rd, Dave Marshall down to 4th. One of the things we spotted on Thursday was that Dave Marshall was very good coming through in the reverse grid race.
He was indeed. I mean, he was just absolutely on it from the moment he got out of the blocks. That real thing that was noticeable with Dave, and he was just there all the time, constantly banging in the laps.
He's going to be doing the same today for sure. Certainly was, and showed terrific race discipline. It was very much the sort of thing that you would expect to see from a seasoned real world racer. We had a quick look at Brad Hutchison there in the MPHR car, 22-year-old from Halifax, and Brad into 7th position, improved there, 1:13.502 into 7th position. And Dave Marshall, 1:12, the first driver to break into the 1:12 bracket, and he is on provisional pole. Josh Hislop relegated into 2nd. Toby Lee is 3rd. So Josh Hislop, the current top real world driver, Kidsley 6. Lewis Brown into 5th position now. And then it is Luke Kidsley 6, Rob Butler 7th, Brad Hutchinson in 8th place. 9th is James, and then Jordan Brennan rounding out the top 10 from Alex Toth-Jones, Callum Newsham in 12th. So the two North Scotland team just separated by Alex Toth-Jones at the moment. Frankie Taylor goes through shot. Frankie, who is the next door neighbour of a certain Billy Munger, racing for Team Hard Racing this year, just 16 years of age. So he's actually the youngest competitor in this championship, and raced in Ginetta Junior last year, and had a good maiden season, but teeing himself up now. This is indicative, Anthony, for me, of drivers that, okay, may have done Ginetta last year, but now they're looking at this because they see this, or a little bit of an off there as he runs wide out of Redgate coming down to the Craner Coast. But the drivers very much see this as the stepping stone towards touring cars. Great championship on its own. It's going to be, you know, as Theo Cup was back in the day, and people will be quite happy to stay here. We've got a lot of drivers that stay with Mini, but it is now the stepping stone to touring cars.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what we hear from drivers, is that they do see that is the case, as indeed the Clio Cup has been previously in the past. But you know, we've got our own internal ladder with the Coupe class moving up to the JCW class, and also a sort of intermediate class with the Coupe S class if needed as well. But you know, I'm expecting that certainly some people will be moving up through Ginetta Juniors, which has proved to be, you know, such a fantastic feeder series for the Clio Cup in the past, hasn't it?
It has been absolutely wonderful, and for the single seater ladder, of course, as well. There was a moment of people that have heard my commentary will get fed up with me saying this, but it was an absolute defining moment for me. Mini Festival last year at Brands Hatch, glorious sunny day, and there we were up in comms box at Brands Hatch commentating on the Mini Festival, and there was just one moment in the first JCW race of the weekend, and the director, the race director who was filming, a little bit of a coming together there. A shame. Oh,
I think someone hasn't checked their mirror.
No, they didn't. And it is mandatory, incidentally, that they have the graphic. They can't switch off the rear view mirror graphic. So they do actually see, they have to be aware, and the clerk of the course will have words with them if needs be. Clerk of the course, I apologise, I didn't name check him earlier. It's Andy Ringland, who is actually was an e-racer as well. So I guess you know Andy pretty well.
Absolutely, and also has been our clerk for the JCW class a couple of years back for a couple of seasons. So yes, Andy is fully experienced in clerking Mini Challenge real world.
So he's going to be keeping a very close eye on things. What you can't do, of course, is necessarily have somebody visit the clerk of the course office. So if there are judicials, which we hope there aren't, if there are, then we'll obviously fill you in with those next time, or via social media over the course of the week. But we're very much hoping that there won't be, and expecting it won't be. But with such a big grid, there may well be. I'll go back to the point I was making about the Mini Fest. We've still got Dave Marshall on provisional pole, as you can see. Josh is not in second. The race director of the TV just caught a moment very early on in the first JCW race of the weekend. If you'd have flicked onto it at that moment, you'd have thought you're actually watching a touring car race. It was that close. The poise of the cars, the speed, the colour, the spectacle. It was touring cars, Anthony.
Very much so. We've tried to model everything we had on with the Mini Challenge on the British Touring Car Championship, and certainly even the cars, whilst they're technically very different to the current specification of cars the touring cars use, NGTC, they are actually very similar to the old S2000 specification of touring. And you know, many people that have driven these cars do say that they are very similar to that specification of touring car, and it's great to hear people say that.
Yeah, absolutely superb.
And power to weight ratio, not a great deal shy of an NGTC touring car. And on the right kinds of circuit, the lap times also aren't too far shy of them either.
That's why people are queuing up. I think when the last round last year of the Real World Championship was at Snetterton, I was chatting to some of the drivers, and it was full up even then, wasn't it, the JCW class for this year?
Yes, absolutely. We really wanted to race with us in the past to continue on our first season on the TOCA package, so we put together a really competitive arrangement for existing competitors, and yes, most of them had already signed up well before the end of last season, let alone the start of this season. And I'm pleased that even with circumstances, that the majority of entrants are expecting to continue their season starting hopefully in August.
looking more positive, I think, day by day. So Callum Newsham coming into pit lane. Callum's still, he's actually 13th now at the moment. Now, where is Jordan Brennan? There's still one car between them, which is Ryan Elliott in the number 2 sim racer, the RSR 18-year-old from Stockton-on-Tees.
Oh, Isaac Smith moving up the leaderboard as well. He was quick the other day, wasn't he? Really quick. But did he run out of fuel or had it off? I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, he was leading. Really, he was leading, wasn't he? Yeah, he's gone up into 8th position now. Isaac, I believe, the youngest ever winner of a senior car racing championship for real, won the Fiesta Championship last year. I think if I get the team wrong, then by all means chastise me, anybody listening, but I think it was Race Car Consultants who were running him last year. But yeah, Isaac, very quick indeed, and entered under Accelerate Motorsport now, the 18-year-old. He's going to be certainly one to watch, as is Dave Marshall in 66, who pulls out of the way. That was respectful from Dave Marshall. Did you see that?
Indeed, that's the sort of thing that we see in the real world. Sure. I'm not sure it always happens quite as reliably as that. But...
Wow. Somebody else on a fast lap. Dave Marshall with a 1:12.895. Josh Hislop second, 1:13.1. It's a big gap from Dave Marshall at the moment.
Compared to what we've seen. Yeah, that is.
Yeah. James MacIntrye, the Green Reaper, in the 28-year-old from London. Just having a quick look to see where James is. I'm at the moment. He's 20th at the moment. I'm having problems with my timing screen separate monitor at the moment, so I'm seeing what you guys see on the main screen. With 3 minutes to go on the session, Dave Marshall really setting out his stall here very early. Great performance from Josh Hislop in the 89 car.
Someone having a gravelly moment in the back.
Missed that, just looking at my notes. And we managed to sort out, there was a couple of duplicate numbers that we had on Thursday night, which we sorted out. One of which was Jordan, as we continue to watch James.
Lewis Brown has popped into second.
Wow. Lewis, I know, was the fastest of the real-world drivers in some of the early testing. So that's a good performance from him. There is Alex Toth-Jones. He's inside the top 10 at the moment, 1:13.437. That has cut the gap a little bit, hasn't it, Lewis, to Dave Marshall. Yes. Josh Hislop down to 3rd, then Tobin Lee. Max Coates, give a shout out to Max. He's down in 13th place, hopefully not unlucky for him in P13. And he's put another entry between Jordan Brennan and Callum Newsham. Scott Jeffs is next up in 16th place. Scott, another driver with a lot of mini experience, and has raced in the Whelan Euro NASCAR Championship as well, so getting bags of experience, Scott Jeffs. Then it's Josh Martin, Tom Williams, who was quick on Thursday, down in 18th place. Ethan Hammerton in 19th. James MacIntyre rounding out the top 20, as we continue to watch Alex Toth-Jones in the MSL Motorsport car doing his business. But there's Lewis Brown. Quick look at Lewis. Thought we were going to follow him around the track. He decided to come into pit lane. Absolutely typical, isn't it? Lewis comes into pit lane. Another who started off in Ginetta Junior Racing and then made the move. I think was maybe thought about sticking with the Ginetta route, but ultimately decided that Mini Challenge was the way to go. Very quick towards the end of last year.
Yeah, he really was showing some good pace at the back end of last year, and I think he's going to be one of the guys that are up there challenging for race wins this season coming.
And there's Luke Kidsley, early pace set at the 7th position at the moment with 42 seconds on the clock. This is where I've got to get pen and paper down and start scribbling out these for our virtual grid. Otherwise, because we don't have a TSL runner bringing us any typing, which we have in the real world. So at the moment, it's Dave Marshall, Lewis Brown, and we'll probably get some BTCC-like changes at the last minute, I suspect.
Brad Hutchins has just popped up into 7th.
Yeah, that's a good jump,
he was
isn't it?
Solid the other day as well, wasn't he? So yeah, again, looking like the form is starting to show. Max was quicker the other day, so I'm expecting him maybe just to put something in as a flyer at the last bit. We'll see.
Yeah, I think as long as he can get into the top 10, he'll be happy. From Hammerton, a little moment there on the grass coming out of the chicane might negate his last lap. They do finish with, so they are complete the lap that they are on. Although that's not going to help his momentum at all. But Dave Marshall's still on provisional pole from Lewis Brown, Josh Hislop, Tobin Lee, Jack MacIntyre, then James Merrills, Brad Bates, Rob Butler. Hopefully, we're going to grab a chat with our overall pole sitter as well, and if possible, might see if we can grab word with Lewis. We've got, it just goes how close it is between the sim races, and he seems to be quick in. And we'll tell you a little bit more about him for all the regular circuit racers who will now be starting to get to know the name. We'll tell you a little bit more about him once the racing gets underway, as we follow Ethan Hammerton on what will be his last lap. Let's see if he can make it tidily through the chicane, which I think he did as we move to our aerial shot. So Dave Marshall is on pole. For Marshall taking the first pole position in round one of the official mini challenge E-Series with Reality Racing Club here on the Donington Park configuration. Our congratulations to him. I think the one thing we probably might not see too many surprises, because we know that everybody's very competitive, and we know also that the times are going to be very, very close throughout the series.
It certainly looks like that's the case, doesn't it?
It does. It'll be interesting to see where qualifying 2 goes. Quick reminder that qualifying 2 will get underway at 1:30. 12:25 provisional start time for race number 1. So I think we might be running a little bit behind at the moment. But once the cars get up on the grid, we'll ready to talk you through the first 20-minute race here on the national configuration at Donington Park. I'll tell you what, we'll have the weather. There we are. So the cars are on the grid and getting ready for the off. As you can see, the blue and white car, front row left, that's Dave Marshall. And alongside him in yellow, black with the white top is Lewis Brown. Row 2, Josh Hislop and Tobin Lee. So the first 2 rows equally shared out between real world drivers and the sim drivers as well. This is going to be a fascinating race to see. Jack MacIntyre lines up in 5th. Another sim race. So we've got some very good sim races mixing it with the cream. The red lights are on. Keeping them waiting there. That was a long time before lights out. We're underway here at Donington Park. Dave Marshall makes a very good start indeed. Lewis Brown in yellow looks to go on the inside line tighter, but then ultimately sticks to the sweep on the outside line into Redgate. Coming up there is Jack MacIntyre around the outside line, but Dave Marshall made a very good start. Let's hope they've all made it around Redgate. This was the worrying moment for us, I think. Redgate on lap number 1. Andy Ringland, the climb, because it really is all about perception to see how they go. We will see some offs. I think there's somebody off the back there, but Dave Marshall has made a super start. Lewis Brown coming under a little bit of pressure. Lewis Brown maybe might be ruining the fact that he took that slightly wider run and finds himself in 2nd position as they come up into Coppice for the first time. But that wasn't a bad start, Anthony.
No, that's a pretty clean start compared to what we often see. And no, it's good. There's certainly Dave there just again showing his class out front. And yeah, Lewis just unfortunately getting hung out to dry a little bit on the end and losing a couple of places. But I'm sure he's coming back again. He was super fast the other day. So
yeah, and he's already making a move. Yeah, it's to the outside line. So let's see whether he can pull this off as they go across the line. Josh Hislop in 3rd place, and he's having a go at Tobin Lee in the 55 machine, and had a look on the outside line. Doesn't manage to make that stick, but Tobin was quick as well. What they won't want to do is get too held up with each other and allow the top two drivers to get away. Jack MacIntyre in 5th, Brad Hutchinson 6th from James Merrills, and then Luke Kidsley, Josh Martin, Rob Butler rounding out the top 10. Isaac Smith is in 11th place at the moment. We've work to do. Remember, for race 2, the top 10 will be reversed exactly like the Real World Championship that we'll see. Up the climb now, up into Coppice, the double apex corner. And Dave Marshall looking good at the moment. Toby Lee with a bit of breathing space over Lewis Brown. Jack MacIntyre trying to close down on Lewis. Brad Hutchison is in close proximity as well. So those two very close as they come down past the erstwhile exhibition centre. Little clatter of the curbs there for Tobin Lee in the 55. But Marshall controlling this well.
Just a composed racer, isn't he, Richard? It's looking solid. But of course, anything can happen.
Jack MacIntyre looking at the inside line of Lewis Brown. He's got it. He's got up into 4th position. Brown still hanging around on the outside line and trying to go through. And contact there. Damien Hall, the Barbadian, having problems. Also going off there is the number 19, which is Tom Williams, the 28-year-old from Gillingham, that will recover right into the mix of other traffic. So lost a few places, but all is not lost points-wise. Simon Reed in the 35 car. First shout out for Simon in the Oxford Racing car, sim racer from Oxfordshire. This is absolutely fascinating stuff at the moment. Race leaders heading up towards Coppice. Once again, 50 points for the race winner, 6 points for pole, Dave Marshall. So Dave already championship leader in these very early days. There's Billy Hardy, ex-Oval driver, Autotech Motorsport Tech car, 40 years of age from Enfield, but not the oldest driver in the championship. So we are seeing some drivers of more mature years, and when saying that, considerably younger than me, coming in and have you tried the sim yet, Anthony?
I'm afraid I haven't. I used to be a real back in the day when I was a teenager and really enjoyed car racing games, but no, not sim racing. It's certainly something which is tempting to have a go at, and I'll be having a chat with the guys at Virtual Reality to perhaps work out a kit that I can get my hands on. Excellent.
Sounds like a super idea.
Maybe I should be entering the championship and seeing how I get on.
Yeah, but then you'd have to commentate with me as you're going round, which you could probably do, but
that might be a bit difficult.
Isaac Smith. Yeah, Isaac Smith. Now that's a little bit of a surprise. So Isaac has a moment off the track, does manage to rejoin, and will try and pull himself up into. It's going to be interesting as we go on to find what drivers' favourite circuits are. As Luke Kidsley looks on the inside line here, Kidsley surely he's going to make a pass here, and Luke up inside the top 10, passing Josh Martin here in the 89 car. So Luke has got the manoeuvre done. His next target, as you can see, is going to be Lewis Brown in the yellow, black and white machine. So Lewis, from a front row start, is in 6th position. Dave Marshall leading, Josh Hislop 2nd, Tobin Lee 3rd, Jack MacIntyre 4th, Brad Hutchison in 5th place at the moment. So the big points, where is Max Coates? He's made up a couple of places up into 11th, just behind Rob Butler and James Merrills. And Luke Kidsley is still involved in this fascinating scrap at the moment with Josh Martin. This is a great battle to behold.
It certainly is, isn't it? They're swapping places and looking like they're just going to have another go at each other turn.
Yeah, Josh Martin hanging on well. James Merrills is in behind the white, red and black livery car, in car with Max Coates. So Max chasing Rob Butler at the moment, and we'll see whether Max can. He's teeing him up quite nicely here. Looks down the inside line. He is. Max seems to get warmed up, doesn't he? And seems to come along a little bit later on. The target for Max is that next place, because if he does, it'll put him on provisional pole position for race 2, and that's going to be absolutely key for him. Got a contact on the back end of Rob Butler's car. Andy Ringland might be keeping an eye on that, I suspect.
May well be.
So has a look now. Yeah,
Sorry, Richard.
That's okay, no worries at all. Talk away, mate. Down the inside goes Max, trying to get up into 10th position, which he's done as they cross the line. Very, very close between this group. There is Max in the 71 car. So Max makes the position up, and he's now going to be chasing Luke Kidsley and Josh Martin, who are having a cracking scrap, or were having a cracking scrap. Looks like Josh has managed to put a little bit of space between himself and Luke Kidsley now, as they head up towards Schwantz. There is Max. Dave Marshall still out front, 0.8 of a second. The gap between Dave and Josh Hislop in second position. So Josh having a good run at the moment in the 58 car. Port Leathern based driver. So Dave Marshall with 12 minutes still on the clock, not even at half distance yet. And Josh Hislop, Tobin Lee still in third place. Thomas O'Farrell. Now we're going to be catching up with Thomas, comes from Port Ellen on Isla, looks after a holiday complex there, so worth checking out once we're allowed to go travelling again, particularly as it's in the UK. And smart car, he's enjoying it. He's a sim racer as well, is Thomas, and looking to try and break in, as many of the drivers are, if they can sort budgets out to break into real world racing. And of course, when you're living that far away, it's logistically difficult, because it's quite a few flights, quite a lot of travel for him just to go testing, let alone for the races as well. Thomas O'Farrell running at the moment in 31st position, so in a point scoring position, which is good for Thomas, and hopefully we'll have a little catch up with him after the race. Dave Marshall still there, Josh Hislop out front. There is Lewis Brown in 6th place, chasing Brad Hutchison. They're all going to be, I think we know that consistency is going to be key, isn't it, to this season, with the number of races that we've got. And Lewis will be disappointed to be 6th after the front row start, but 6 is still decent points, 32 points in the offing for him here. Yeah,
they're both Lewis and Brad, actually. They've typically been in the same sort of bits of tarmac quite often last year. Probably on average, Lewis, I think, ahead of Brad. But both are certainly capable drivers, and clearly doing a good job here. But like you say, I'm sure Lewis will be a little bit disappointed to have dropped back a few places from his.
Need to try. Oh, so some mid-order shenanigans there. Rob Butler is off, and I think was involved with Jordan Brennan there as well. So I'm just having a quick look to see whether we can see what's happened to Callum Newsham, who was in and around Jordan Brennan, but he's outside the top 20, I think, at the moment. But Jordan having a little bit of a moment there as well. Matt Richards, another driver we've not discussed so far, the Sancho SimSport machine, age 23 from Wales. Good to see him in the mix as well. And he's actually up to 11th place now. So as these skirmishes happen, you'll see by sticking in there, racing safely, there's some places to be made up. Matt Richards doing a good job at the moment, very nearly up into the top 10. Last time we checked on 10th place, of course, it was Max Coates. He's into 9th now. Ryan Elliott is in P10 and with provisional pole position for the next race. So that's interesting, isn't it? Ryan Elliott and Max Coates are near neighbours geographically. Ryan comes from Scotland on Tees, which isn't that far away from Max, so there might be some local team tactics off the front of the grid for race 2 as we watch James Merrills in the 88 machine. Barnsley boy still looking to try and make up some positions, down in 16th now. Isaac Smith is the car chasing him, so Isaac, who we would strongly expect to be winning races at some point during the campaign, a fair way down the order, but it's still Dave Marshall in the 66 car who is the leader. Time maybe to tell you a little bit about Dave. 26 years of age, semi-professional drummer with a music degree. So he's one of these guys that actually, Anthony, makes you sick because he's good at whatever he does.
Yeah, I imagine he probably speaks half of that language. Probably pretty good on 2 wheels as well as, and like you said earlier, it seems to be pretty good in any form of sim racing.
Yeah, and
I've heard, not bad on the track in the real world either.
Absolutely right, and a keen mountain biker, maintains tracks at Danny Hart's Descend Bike Park in Amsley Forest. Danny's a multiple world champion, so he's in that kind of circle of good athletes as well. So Obviously very good academically as well, and has done well in the various disciplines of eSeries. There's Isaac Smith still trying to close up. But good to see a sim racer out front, and good to see how close the sim guys are with the real world drivers. It really couldn't have worked out better as a start to this series. By my honest, we watch Lewis Brown still trying to get back on terms with Brad. Lewis Brown, I think he's having a little bit of a late race renaissance here. He's got just under 8 minutes on the clock. And
he's certainly looking racy.
Yeah, this is the battle for 5th place. So Lewis trying to hunt down Brad Hutchison at the minute. In the real world, prepared by Lawrence Davey Racing. You and I had a chat about Lawrence, and Lawrence, a cracking little driver as well, turns his attention to preparing cars now, which he does very well indeed. I don't know if he's watching this. I think he had a birthday in the week or the week before, so many happy returns to Lawrence, who was still is the youngest driver to have won a Legends Cars race in the UK. But good prep team, LDR. Whatever they turn their hand to, they do pretty well.
No, absolutely. With Lawrence and his father, Martin, they do a great job with the Mini Challenge. They've been long-term for the championship, and it's good to continue working with them now. And they've got a good stable of drivers this year. I'm conscious, so confident that they'll be well up there as a team.
Neil Trotter back with them, I think. Is that right?
Absolutely. Neil Trotter's back. I imagine he'll have his bright green livery again. So it'll be good to see him around.
Yeah, this
disappointed to not see him racing.
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? I have to tee him up.
I'll try and get him a call afterwards.
So it's Ryan Elliott going through in number 2. That's the 10th position car at the moment. So he's the guy we're going to see on provisional pole next time out. Matt Richards in 11th, right behind. So there is a good battle going on for that pole position at the moment, and that could reward them with a few extra points. Number 90, Scott Jeffs, is there as well. A little bit of argy-bargy as they come down into the chicane. Scott Jeffs keeping watching briefly. The NHS livery car, the green machine goes off, rejoins. Now, just to remember, we are effectively running to Blue Book rules, so to rejoin, you have to do so safely. And if that caused a problem, then the Andy Ringland would have probably come into play. But we are sticking to Blue Book as much as possible in this championship.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, Richard. It's the condition really of doing it that we do everything as close as possible to the real world. Even to the extent that we've got real world trophies to give to the winners of races in the Sim Series, and it's exactly the trophy that people will be winning in the real world. Absolutely
superb, lovely touch. And look at this great battle going on with some side-by-side racing. Tom Williams is the chaser here, and having a look on the outside line, he's going to flick back, maybe go for the inside of Scott Jeff. Scott leaves a little bit of a gap there, and that was really too much of an invitation for Tom Williams to ignore, and he pops the car up the inside line cleanly. That was a lovely clean bit of racing. And now they come down into the chicane. Jeff's realised that's gone. He's going to try and get some momentum through the chicane. A little bit of curb clattering there on the inside for Tom Williams, and doesn't do him any harm actually. Manages to get a good run at momentum. Scott Jeffs now coming under pressure from James MacIntyre, who's right in behind in the 47, the green and white car. So James MacIntyre in the mix and trying to hunt him down. That is for 18th place. Dave Marshall 1.2 seconds clear of Josh Hislop at the moment, but a good battle wherever you look. People are finding other people to race with, and there's some really good battles going on.
Yeah, it's a feature of the championship actually, that there's often you get sort of groups of half a dozen creating little battles, so that there's entertainment for everybody to watch, and certainly having such a big grid always helps that.
So Tom Williams has broken clear of this. He's really made the most of that. Scott Jeffs has got himself embroiled with James MacIntyre on the inside line. Ethan Hammerton trying to close up as well and get involved. Looks to the outside line of Scott as they come down in towards the chicane. I don't think he's going to get the job done here. Scott Jeffs holds on to position. James MacIntyre has the overlap there with Ethan Hammerton. Another driver in the vicinity of Max and company comes from North Allerton, just down the road from Croft Circuit. He's teeing up the inside line here, so side by side with James MacIntyre as they come out of Redgate through Hollywood and down in towards the Craner curves. Side by side, close racing here at the moment. Oh, a touch between the two. Now, the reactions between the cars are so realistic that, you know, if the contact was too much, we would see a car go off, but Ethan Hammerton couldn't quite go through. And that was a nice bit of side-by-side racing between Hammerton and James MacIntyre. It's MacIntyre that hangs on to it. Hammerton's about to lose place here. I think that's Rob Butler coming up through on the inside line. Very surprised to see Rob Butler down that end of the top 20. But again, just underlines exactly how competitive this is. 2 minutes 29 plus 1 lap remaining about opening race. If you want to get involved on social media, hashtag mini challenge UK eSeries is where you can post a message. We rode briefly on board with Josh Martin. He's the chaser here of the yellow, black and white car of Lewis Brown, going down through the old hairpin. Those are battling for 6th place. Lewis in 6th at the moment, Josh Martin in 7th. They go out of shot, a little bit of a gap back. Luke Kidsley comes through shot now. There's Max Coates, Max in 9th, Ryan Elliott in 10th position. Dave Marshall's not getting any coverage because he's disappeared down the road, 1.2 seconds ahead, but we can talk to him about that a little bit later on. He's looking good for the top points in this one at the moment. He's Dave Marshall. So big battles again coming down the straight. Tobin Lee is there. Jack MacIntyre. Tobin Lee in the purple and white 55. Jack MacIntyre right behind him as well, having a good go. Is he going to go to the outside line here? A stab at going for the big burn up around the outside line. As do that. He has gone a little bit sketchy. It's Tobin Lee still there at the moment, so apologies for a little bit of break up my end there on the feed as we just lost that. As well. Actually,
yeah, unfortunately, Richard, I can't hear you clearly at the moment. Not sure whether or not the rest of the world can hear me, but it's certainly carrying on to be a nice battle there for sort of 3rd, 4th, 5th position. And yeah, I think these, second, 3rd, 4th, 5th, really. And yeah, it's ultimately just like the real world championship, really close. And we've just got this lap to finish before the end of the race. But it's looking pretty likely that Dave Marshall's going to take the win. He, consistent lap times, just managing the gap back to Josh. And but this is where the battle is, isn't it?
Absolutely right. Yeah, superb close stuff going on here. Tobin Lee defending a podium position. Jack MacIntyre right with him, but MacIntyre in turn being put under pressure by Brad Hutchison. It could go any way of 3 here for this battle for the last podium position. MacIntyre takes a wide line there. Is this going to be able to give him a slingshot? Maybe down Exhibition Straight. He's going to make up into 4th position. And this is great news for Tobin Lee because it takes the pressure off Tobin a little bit as they come out of Coppice and down Exhibition Straight. So positions as you were at the moment, as Dave Marshall will take the win from Josh Hislop. Yeah, they come then onto the last lap. So superb stuff from those 3. We have got the same idea. Most sim racing, you'll see that they'll flick an off button at the end. But again, to keep it real world friendly, what we're doing is telling the drivers they have to do a slowing down lap, and then they'll join us in pit lane or parc fermé at the end of the event. So this one looking a little bit a little bit more settled than it was the last lap.
Yes.
Lewis Brown's on his own, isn't he, now, in 6th position? So Brown looking good for 6th place. And now Hutchison looks up the inside line now of Jack MacIntyre. Is he going to be able to do it? MacIntyre might get a better run on the outside. He does. There was a little bit of argument about track limits earlier on in the week as well. So, again, that's going to be looked at by clerks of the course, because there was some wide running there. Tobin Lee still in 3rd position, looking pretty happy with that at the moment. Jack MacIntyre maintaining 4th as they come down into the chicane for the last time. But checkered flag, and Dave Marshall, congratulations to him. Dave Marshall takes the win. Josh Hislop in 2nd position. Tobin Lee gets 3rd place from Jack Mack. And then it is Brad Hutchison in 5th. Lewis Brown in 6th position ahead of Josh Martin and Luke Kidsley. Max Coates in 9th with Ryan Elliott in 10th. So Elliott will start on provisional pole for race 2 with Max Coates alongside him. Luke Kidsley will be on row 2 with Josh Martin. So that to look forward to as Isaac Smith comes through. Textbook stuff from Dave Marshall there, though, and some good battles all the way down. There is Ryan Elliott. He is going to start pole position for race 2. Thoughts, Anthony, on our first encounter?
Well, I mean, some of it seemed to go, certainly with Dave taking the win up there and Tobin as well in 3rd. But I think, Brad Hutchinson and Lewis Brown doing a great job from the Midday Challenge Championship. A little bit surprised not to see Max continuing that charge further upfield, Max Coates that is, but I'm sure we'll see some exciting racing from him in race 2 of this round. But overall, still incredible close racing. And as we said the other day, it's actually quite easy to start to think, well, this is just the same as the real thing. And certainly from a viewing perspective, all the same kinds of excitement that you get from watching in real. So it's Anthony here again. I'm not sure Richard's currently connected, so I'll have to pick up the reins. Hopefully I can get to speak to Dave shortly. Dave, can you hear me?
I can indeed, yep.
Oh, great to speak to you. What a race. You've done a great job there, really pretty much from lap 1. How did it go for you?
For me, the important job was in quali. getting a decent lap in quali was everything really, because as you can see, everyone's more or less on the same pace. So getting out front and keeping clean, keeping your tyres, from overheating, that's the hard part really. So fair play to Josh, gave us a run for his money, kept the pressure on, but brought home the win.
No, it was really a solid performance. Looks under control. Were there any times where you thought perhaps Josh was going to maybe be able to put in a meaningful challenge to you?
He got within half a second, I think, which then you've got to start thinking about toe and the draft he's getting. Mm-hmm. But I was almost aware that he'll be cooking his tyres while that's happening, so I just kept looking after mine, and luckily they came good at the end of the race. So.
And how are you looking forward to race this?
This could be difficult, let's see.
So it's all going to be a racecraft, just picking your way through, and I guess getting a quick start. But in the practice race we had the other day, you certainly see. I'm expecting to see you back up there again. But no, great race, Dave. Great race. I'm looking forward to seeing the next one. So it still sounds like we've lost Richard, and hopefully we can get him back online pretty shortly. The technical guys, I'm sure, will be working on that as we speak. So as Richard was saying earlier on, race will end up with reverse grid, the 10 being, and that of course makes it a much more exciting start. Because you've got people displaced in terms of their outright pace, back behind some of the guys who not much slower, but just that little bit slower in terms of outright lap time. And just like the creates some very exciting, especially in the first few laps. But of course, in order to pull their way through the field, they tend to work their tyres and brakes that little bit harder, and come back to bite back later in the race as the race unfolds. That's just the same in the real world. But it'll be really interesting to see Max Coates, who's been instrumental in putting this eSeries together from the front row. He was very quick the other day. Expecting to see the same again here. Racecraft is certainly a big strength for him. And of course, Lewis Brown and Brad Hutchinson will be in the middle, dint of their position race one. So we'll see them starting, I think, effectively in 6th and 7th or something on those lines. So that'll be not too bad for them. Or perhaps a little bit, actually, maybe 3rd and 4th on the grid. So off we go.
Anthony, back with you. Sorry for that. We had to. I'm not sure what the problem was with our server or not. Apologies, everybody. Thanks for keeping it going as we watched Luke Kidsley up in 2nd position from the start, and not a bad start to race number 2. As you can see, a very quick turnaround indeed to get things underway. What I missed, of course, was the reaction of our winners.
Well, Dave was mentioned he was felt pretty much under control, but with just a little bit of pressure at various points of the race. But yeah, it was really interesting to hear him talk about the fact that he needed to protect the tyres, and expecting that Luke was probably going to be suffering a little bit with patient. But look at that, what a package behind there. It was just like that view that you were talking about last year at the mini festival.
Absolutely right. Dave Marshall in the 66 car now. We get to see it's in the racecraft in terms of pacing it from the front for him, but now we see how he can work his way through the field from 10th place on the grid, which he's beginning to start to do. Josh Martin in the 89 car goes through, but it's Ryan Elliott who is the race leader coming under pressure from Luke Kidsley. A spin further back for Max Bird. Not the happiest debut weekends for Max Bird, sadly.
No, bright car, you can certainly see it, but unfortunately you can see it both when it's going well and not going quite so well. So, and another spinner in the background.
Yeah, I think we might had a challenge for the lead, and Luke Kidsley now has come through. There is Josh Martin running in 3rd place, so Luke Kidsley now up ahead of Ryan Elliott. So Elliott held the lead for a lap and a bit, and the more experienced race-wise, of course, real race-wise, Luke Kidsley is out front. Now the key thing is that, is it easier to be a chaser, I'm wondering? What's your perspective as a real racer, Anthony? Is it easier to chase or be chased?
Certainly, my limited experience of a bit of karting, a bit of racing, the challenge actually years and years ago is that it's easier to chase.
Yeah.
You know, you've got that opportunity to focus on what you're trying to achieve and to look in front of you rather than behind. So it's always easier to chase. That said, the cars don't like following. All turbocharged cars struggle a little bit with hot air. Oh, some incidents back there in the background. I think we've got a few off.
I think Max Bird again involved in the mix there. Not necessarily his fault, but a wee bit of contact as the battle for the lead. Ryan Elliott is certainly not letting Luke Kidsley get away with this. So Kidsley under pressure, and Elliott now very much enjoying the chase here. Kidsley started on row 2 for this one. Josh Martin's still in 3rd. Lewis Brown is in 4th place as they come down into the old hairpin once again. So we'll see whether Elliott can close up. But yeah, wherever you look, some superb battles going on. And are we going to see Luke Kidsley grab the win here?
Well, he was strong in race 1 as well, wasn't he? So yeah, it's but nevertheless, there's some good real-world mini challenge there too. Now, I haven't got my spotters guide in front of me, Richard. Now, it's Josh Martin. He's actually, I think, one of the Cooper class races rather than the JCW class. Have you got your?
I haven't got that immediately to hand. I've got a plethora of paperwork, but not that particular part. So
I'm pretty sure it is, but obviously without actually seeing his face, I can't absolutely be certain. But based on the car livery, and pretty sure that is. But we'll check that out.
Yep, teenager from Gloucestershire, Josh Martin, as the race leaders come across the line once again. And Kidsley coming under pressure. Ryan Elliott goes to the outside line. He's going to go for the sweep around the outside line if he can do it. That won't perhaps work, but now he gets very close indeed. You can see he was maybe teeing up. That was a Matt Neal move, wasn't it? There, a little tap on the back, pushed him a little bit wide and goes through into lead position, dislodges the leader. Luke Kidsley, I know many a driver, I'm not saying Luke's going to do it, but many a driver would say, give me a little tap. There'll be one coming back a little bit later on. But
well, I think it's either that or maybe words on. So whether or not we're going to be running to touring contact rules or mini challenge contact rules, that will be interesting to see.
Absolutely right. So Theo Bridgeman Williams in the mix as well, in the 11th place at the moment, running well, with Callum Newsham having a good dice, which is good to see. Didn't manage to name check Theo in the previous race, but an ex-BRSCC Fiesta driver, and joined in one of the older classes for the older cars here, as it again gets very, very physical here between these 3 cars. And Jack MacIntrye,
they're all going to be visiting the parts shop after this race. Oh!
It does look that. And bang onto the back goes James Merrills. Yeah, certainly getting a little bit fraught there. Ryan Elliott, incidentally, still out front from Luke Kidsley. Bridgeman just ahead of those. This battle at the moment. So Jack MacIntyre still there as well as they come down into Redgate once again. Max Bird trying to get back into the thick of things and try and make up for the couple of problems that he had earlier on in the race. Max, still only 19, comes from Chichester down there in West Sussex, and always a great lad to chat to in the real world paddock. A very diligent racer, and around goes.
That's a big one.
That's a big hit, wasn't it? Think Jack MacIntyre, possibly in the 37.
I think that's going to be the porter power out in the pits, getting the chassis straight on that one.
Yeah, absolutely right. Another car rejoining as we watch Dave Marshall still trying to make up some ground in the...
Yeah, I'd missed that.
Yeah.
Richard.
He's way back, isn't he? Yeah, he has.
Makes the championship interesting.
It does make it very interesting indeed. So Dave's got some work to do. And Max, our featured driver, of course, Max Bird, in this one. So we've got a key point to be able to chat to him about, as Lewis Brown running in 4th place. Now, this is key for me, Anthony. Lewis Brown scored well in race number 1, and here running in 4th position. This is going to be absolutely key, isn't it? Consistency here. You would start to think that, you know, a string of 4th positions is going to put you in very good stead come the end of the season.
It's the same in the mini challenge. Normally, it's all about that consistency. It's not about winning races. It's just about relentlessly scoring points every race. You just can't afford bad point scoring races. It just doesn't work for you.
And I loved the Real World Championship last year, that the top 6 fastest laps all. I know it's changed for this year, but you had the top 6 drivers fastest laps all having fought. And I tell you what, you gave us some headaches in the comms box trying to work out this championships tonight. But what an exciting thing! What an exciting thing to have in your regulations, that each of the top 6 fastest drivers, great.
No,
idea.
Absolutely. It was exactly that. Give everybody a purpose, wherever you are, to try and score those points, because it could make the difference come the end of the season. But yes, we gave a break this year, particularly with the live ITV coverage. We thought it might get a bit complicated.
Yeah, I think the timing folk are good, but to have that sort of pressure, particularly if you get to a last round scenario, I think we put everyone under a little bit too much, maybe.
Yes, I think you're right. But Lewis here is looking stronger, isn't he? He's, not quite putting the pressure on yet, but certainly still looking like he's got the potential to pick up another place. Although he's coming under pressure from, I think, at the moment. So
Matt
we'll have
Richards.
to see how that pans out.
And Matt Richards behind him, and then Max Coates running in 6. So Max offers some decent points here as well. Theo Bridgeman in the mix there as well, just on the outside line, and running well, 13th place. Jack MacIntyre and Brad Hutchison in that group. Brad in the 17 car, there he is. Get a good side-on view of him coming through Coppice. Wide line there, out of Coppice, but not losing too much ground over the chasing pair immediately behind. Ryan Elliott still out front at the moment from Josh Martin, then Josh Hislop, 2 Joshes from Lewis Brown. So it's lone sim racer at the moment, with lots of real world drivers busy trying to hunt him down. Max looks like he's got some battle scars on the inside of the 71 car. On the outside there, certainly has. So
Dave Marshall's certainly picking up a few places, very close to 14th position. So hopefully Dave will be able to pick up a few places and keep his championship, not exactly alive because we're so early on, but make sure that he's still very much in the mix.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for the 66 car, see how well he can move up. James Merrills is there at the moment. He's in 16th position, the 88 car, busy chasing Damien Hall, our Barbadian driver, 37-year-old from Barbados. Miracles of modern technology that we can have, drivers doing it from afar. There he is in the 246 car, coming under a little bit of pressure from Dave Marshall here. So let's see whether Damien's going to succumb to the pressure. He has a wide line. Marshall on the inside, the more blue of the 2 cars, being chased by James Merrills coming down Exhibition Straight into the chicane, and Dave Marshall will go through smoothly and safely. So our race 1 winner is through. I did have visions of it might be maybe being a Dave Marshall double here, even from 10th on the grid, because he was mighty quick in the practice races and the other times that we've seen him out. But it's been scuppered here. So this is all about how many places can he make up, how many points can he get on the charge through the field. But at the moment, he is in 14th. Theo Bridgeman, the next man that he is going to try and hunt down.
No, I agree, Richard. Dave's performance in race 1 and in qualifying pretty dominant, and yes, even at this early stage, it was looking like possibly going to be a bit of a Dave one, but fortunately not at the moment, at least.
There's Rob Butler in the 74 car enjoying a good dice as well, and car in front just goes a little bit too far off the track, but comes back on. Jordan Brennan being hunted down by the 74. So Jordan Brennan being hunted down by Rob Butler. James was up with them, and immediately ahead of that group, Damien Hall and David Marshall still trying to close down on Theo Bridgeman.
It's a lovely little battle here, isn't there, for place?
Yeah, this is not quite up to podium, but not far away from podium. And Josh Martin and Max Coates, and his contact. Max Coates goes one way, collects it up relatively well, but Alex Toth-Jones was the unwitting white car there that just got collected, slightly touched by Max Coates, and spears off. That is, I really feel for Alex Toth-Jones there. Max, I think, collected it up well, but sadly, that's them down. Is Max pulling? Is that a retirement for him? He's down in 12th at the moment as the other cars come through. Let's take stock of the positions. with just under 8 minutes and 1 lap to go. Ryan Elliott is still the leader from Josh Hislop, then Lewis Brown, Josh Martin 4th. Then in 5th position, it's Matt Richards, followed by Luke Kidsley now in 6th place. Callum Newsham is up into 7th. Tom Williams 8th, Jack MacIntyre, and then Brad Hutchison in 10th. Alex Toth-Jones is still going. So, you know, there's a little bit of good fortune for Alex in that he could have been wiped out of the race, but he's still going in 11th place. And Max Coates finds himself now behind Alex and Dave Marshall.
That was a very costly few seconds for those two, wasn't it? Cost them dear.
Was indeed, as Alex Toth-Jones, there he is in the number 11 car. It was in a really strong position. I really feel for him. That was, you know, up there dicing for potential podium positions. We watched Tom Williams still in the mix as well. There he is in the number 19 car, having a good dice at the moment, trying to close down here on Callum Newsham. So Callum, a mini challenge regular, who's been climbing up the order.
Yeah, he was the main beneficiary, I think, of that incident.
He was, yeah.
Places.
And yeah, Callum in a potential good point scoring position here. Little way down on Matt Richards at the moment. You can see Richards already exiting the chicane. So at the minute, you'd say probably not too much chance of getting up into 5th place for Callum. And he's going to be looking back and seeing whether he can just shake off Tom Williams, who is next up. Jack MacIntyre goes through, Brad Hutchinson behind them. Then Alex Toth-Jones, who is in 10th place, running well. But Ryan Elliott doing a good job here out front. After that little, yeah. And that move.
Oh, but just a move, there's a change there. Josh Hislop pulling through past Ryan.
Fantastic stuff. Josh Hislop then taking it up. So Josh having a good run. I think was in the Fiesta Junior Championship. Hislop back in a couple of seasons ago. The driver.
It sounds like the batteries might have run out on Richard's microphone. Not sure that's the technical problem, but I'll try and pick up as best I can here. But watching the leaders, and yeah, that's really closed up. I think there may have been some contact or something. I'm not sure, missed it, but yeah, it's certainly closed up with the three of them. With Lewis very much on their tail. So Lewis is looking strong here. Lewis Brown, his good results in race 1 and now looking like a solid performance in race 2. But can he perhaps put the pressure on the two up front? Certainly very close. Running wide, a little bit wide there for Lewis. Not sure what the clerk will think of that, but I don't think he really gained from it. So fingers crossed if it gets looked at. Josh Hislop sporting the NHS livery, thanking all of our care workers for all the hard work they're doing in the pandemic. It's good to see.
Yeah, it's great support, and all of us supporting the NHS through this, raising a lot of money to go to the NHS. And
I think that was actually your chosen charity.
It was when I said, "Well, I do, but let's do a donation." I want to do.
So I think we may have lost Richard again there to the reins, and still this race is looking very close. And Lewis is putting on some serious pressure now to Ryan. I think you know, Ifo putting some money. He's making a move. I think he's managed to just nudge it down the inside. Let's see. Yes, he has. He has.
Yeah.
So we're going to manage to see Lewis hold and then perhaps. Oh, what's happened there? Oh, I thought I saw somebody off it. It's not actually who I thought it was. So I think we're okay. So now Lewis, can he put the charge on and really hunt down Josh Hislop, currently in the lead, just about a second up the road. It looks to me like possibly Lewis is just that little bit racier at this stage of the race. Starting to put a little bit of a gap on Ryan now. Focus on him, who's in front. I think he's still got time to do it. This will be a great result for Lewis, whatever happens here. And yeah, he should be really, really pleased with it. Can he just take that one more place off? It looks like back markers, which could mix it up a little bit. Josh Hislop, I think he's going to start seeing some people in front of him that he's going to have to lap.
It does add another complexion to it, doesn't it? And again, it's the real world scenario. We'll get drivers that, might have to pit, might get a drive through, might have a problem, and they suddenly find themselves being caught by the lead drivers. So Lewis Brown here, he's a consummate, he's won championships. He knows that he's got to look ahead. He knows that he's got to keep one eye on the mirror graphic as well to see Ryan Elliott putting pressure on him. But he won't see, maybe, is Ryan Elliott make that move on Luke Kidsley early on in the race where he just gave him that little tap. He won't be too concerned about that. But Elliott doing a good race here, cracking driving there from the slower drivers moving out of the way as well. Fair play to them. Saw the very much aware that these faster drivers were coming through. So it's Hislop still out front from Lewis Brown. Ryan Elliott in third. Brown in the yellow, black and white car. Still some great battles going on further down the order. Jordan Brennan busy dicing there with Damien Hall. And that is for 15th position. Damien Hall having managed to get back in front of him. And Max Bird, our featured driver from this race, nips through on the inside to pass Jordan Brennan. So Max Bird, who had some disappointing luck in the early stages of this race, certainly beginning to climb through. And Jordan Brennan, absolutely no slouch as a sim racer either, was top 6 in the practice race that we had on Thursday, and very quick in qualifying. And again, just underlining the very even nature of this championship. Just under a minute and one more lap to go. Luke Kidsley going through in 13th position, head of this little group. The early race leader took the lead on lap 1, then lost it, dropped back down the order, did Kidsley. But Hislop, Brown and Elliott, the top 3. Is there for Lewis in?
So we've possibly lost Richard there again, and so I'll just pick up the reins once more. So yeah, it looks like Josh is just about managing to manage the gap back to Lewis, and similarly Brian. Interestingly, Josh Martin there in still managing to hold a watching brief and maybe pick up some opportunities, but
problems for Scott Jeffs there, who manages to get back on track. So the clock has now run down, and we are on to the last lap of this one as Scott Jeffs in the similarly liveried NHS car coming along the exhibition straight once again. Hislop for Brown, third. Callum Newsham, I think, will have made some progress as well.
So again, I think we've possibly lost Richard there. Scott Jeffs just edging away a little. Max Coates obviously recovering back from various battles earlier, and then a couple of other drivers can't quite pick out who they are. My timing screen and video feed as to who they are at the moment, but it looks like just managed to together at the end of the race. But back up front, Josh and Lewis and Ryan still station second, third. The gap really being managed. Dave Marshall, as we're watching there, just managed to pick up to 11th place. So a good solid haul of points, but possibly a little bit less than expected, and certainly less than I would have expected. So I think solid results from guys up front at the moment. But we're on the final lap now, and we'll see who manages to hold it together just for these last few corners until we reach the checker flag.
It's been a good chase by Lewis Brown, but Josh Hislop has paced things superbly. The gap sort of wavering between a second and 9/10, depending where they are on the circuit. Josh Martin has a little bit of a wide moment in the background. That means that Matt Richards might be able to close up on him. Callum Newsham still there in 6th position ahead of Tom Williams, Jack MacIntrye, Brad Hutchison. Alex Toth-Jones has done well to maintain 10th position after his tagging earlier on, but it's going to be Josh Hislop who will take the win. Lewis Brown still chasing as they come across the line. And there's the checker. Josh Hislop wins race 2 of the championship. Lewis Brown is on the podium. He's second. Ryan Elliott completes the podium in 3rd place. So this time, 1 sim driver, 2 real-world drivers. Dave Marshall, the winner of race number 1, in 11th position, chases Alex Toth-Jones after some problems. So it goes through problems for both of those drivers, but dogged determination. Anthony managed to get them through to the flag as we watch Luke Kidsley, another driver who's involved in some drama in the Lux Motorsport car. 36-year-old from Northampton crosses the line as well. So
there was plenty of incidents in that one. Plenty of incidents.
And now they get a little bit of a breather before the next qualifying session, and we'll be able to take stock and just gain a little bit of a breather and think about tactics, think about what they're going to do for race number 2. So on the slowing down lap for our second race, and it's going to be interesting to hear from Josh Hislop. Started fairly well up towards the front, and I think that I'm wondering whether the drivers are going to, get into tactics in terms of, if you're in a certain position in race 1 to make sure you're there or thereabouts towards the front, because overtaking can be a premium.
No, absolutely. I certainly think there'll be some benefit to that. Ultimately, they've got to think about a long championship, and as we said earlier, it's just all about scoring points every time. So I think these guys could well be really understanding that already at stages.
Let's see if we can grab a word with our winner first of all. Don't forget to push the button to talk. Josh Hislop, many congratulations on the win. I'm hearing Josh at the moment. Let's see if we've got Lewis Brown in P2. Lewis, good race from your perspective, Lewis.
That again?
Good race from your perspective, Lewis.
Yeah, really good race. Didn't get mugged on the start this time, so that was an improvement. And then, just kept it on track and knew that my pace would be faster at the end that time. Changed a bit with fuel, but very happy.
What sort of preparations are you going to do for the second half of today's meeting?
Not much. You just need I think it's just about pulling that lap together and qualifying again. So we got that was the fastest time I've ever done in the qualifying session. So
nice one.
So I was happy with that. And I think just need to be able to pull that together, get some space, because there is a lot of cars on track and it's so easy to lose a lap. But I'm very, very happy with it.
Oh, well done on that. Let's see if we can grab a quick word with our race winner, Josh Hislop. Can you hear me, Josh?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Congratulations, mate. A super win. How difficult was that for you?
It was really difficult, but I got a good start and then just managed the pace well.
Josh, can you hear me? It's Anthony here.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think we might have lost Richard. He's had a couple, I think, with his connection. So you managed the pace after a good start. And so tell how did it feel having Lewis down a little bit towards the end, able to manage it?
Yeah, obviously Lewis was quick towards the end, but luckily managed to hold on.
And how are you looking forward to the rest of the races today?
I'm really looking forward to it. Hopefully can have a repeat this morning and just keep the.
Well, I think we may have lost Josh there as well. Lewis, can you hear me? It's Anthony here.
I think Lewis might be going to get ready for his next race. I was wondering if we could grab Max.
Sorry, my mic on mute.
We can hear you again now.
Hello, mate.
Hi.
Oh, Josh, can you hear us?
Yep.
Very good. Yeah, so I think you were going to tell me a little bit more about looking forward to the rest of the races today.
Yeah, I think obviously if I can repeat what I've done this morning, that would be great. I'm really happy with the results.
It's good, solid performance. It's all about just collecting those points, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we've had 2 good finishes, obviously, and the lap times have been really consistent. So just want to keep that up, and hopefully it'll be a good race this afternoon.
And do you think having the experience of sim racing given you a chance to really understand what you need to do in terms of setup and driving style in order to manage the pace throughout the whole of the race?
I've not spent a massive amount of time doing online racing, but I think it's been really good fun so far, and I think it will teach.
Very good. Well, it's good to speak to you, and good luck for the rest of the day.
Thank you.
Before we sign off for a break, I'm wondering if we've got Max Bird on standby. Max, are you there? Because you were our featured driver in that race, and it was a fairly eventful one for you. Are you there, Max?
Max isn't here.
Max isn't there. Never mind.
He's in the comms room.
He's probably busy trying to sort himself out, ready for race 2, or race the second half of the program, we should say, where our next featured driver is going to be Scott Thorne, the 32-year-old Essex racer. So, apologies for the problems from our end. We've been trying to do all sorts of things to, as usual with these things, they work fine on rehearsal, and then we get a problem. But
so I said to our viewers that maybe your battery is on flat on the microphone, but I guess it's battery.
No, I just think some dodgy internet. I think it.
Yes.
We did actually get a full check done on the internet last week prior to this, and the engineer that came out said, "I wish mine was as good as yours, but it's never quite good enough, is it?"
No, never. No, it must be that high fidelity nature of it's stretching the bandwidth.
But anyway, interesting couple of races to get things underway. I hope you're enjoying the action at home here on the national configuration at Donington Park. We are going to be qualifying for the second half of our doubleheader, race 3, which will get underway at 1:30. And then 1:50, we've got the third of our races, immediately followed by the reverse grid race 4. And then we'll have a sort of roundup of the day and look forward to what we can expect next week on the Brands Indy circuit. So from me, Richard John Neal, and Anthony Williams, we're going to take a quick breather, quick comfort break, and stay with us, and we'll be back with some more action for you in just a few minutes.
Here at Snetterton. Gordon bounces there. Gordon goes into the back of Harrison, doesn't get destroyed, and he throws the car in. Harrison wins. Palmer second, Gordon third. Got a car on the grass, several cars off. Vicentilot's getting tagged and he's out of the race and off on the grass. Harrison takes the win. It's going to be Gordon's championship by my mathematics.
Hello, I'm Max Coates, racing for Elite Motorsport in the Mini Challenge UK official eSeries. Here's a quick guide to simulators. This is my sim. First of all, you'll see a rig. So we've got a chassis down here attached to a seat which has 3 screens. And we've got some controllers in a steering wheel and some pedals down there. And I've also got a few additional gadgets like a camera so that I can do a live stream which you'll be able to watch. So what can be different to other people's sims? So first of all is the rig. So mine is a SingLab chassis. This is kind of a fairly high-end chassis, which means that everything is quite rigid and structural, so you get the feeling of what a real car's like. Other drivers might be using a desk and a PC or an ironing board, all the way up to something that's a little bit more sturdy or even full motion. Screens. People could have bigger screens, smaller screens, triple screens, single screens, or could again be using virtual reality. The steering wheel, this is a belt-driven wheel. You can get things such as direct driven, so that is the wheel is directly attached to the main point that's controlling the steering wheel on the sim. You can go down to like a Logitech type system which features electronic gadgetry to control the simulator. And then again in the pedals, so I have a 3-pedal system. The clutch feels like a clutch, the accelerator feels like an accelerator, and the brake, which is the critical one for us pro drivers, is where it all is. So within what I have is a load cell type pedal, and that changes when you press harder, you get more feel through the brake. So yeah, that's a real quick guide to simulators.
Welcome back to our coverage of the opening weekend of the Mini Challenge UK eSeries with Virtual Reality Racing Club. And we've had 2 races so far. Dave Marshall, the sim racer, taking victory in race number 1 from Josh Hislop. Josh Hislop in the reverse grid race, starting 9th on the grid, came through and took the win. So therefore is championship leader. Points-wise, we can't give you any more than that at the moment because the points go all the way down for every finisher. And it's quite a complicated scenario. But we'll give you a roundup at the end of our second race. I'm joined by Anthony Williams. Anthony, it's been a good session so far.
Hello, Richard. Yes, session. So great racing there. A lot of action in that race too, though.
There was some
with Andy England.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, Andy B. Clark of the course. So it will be interesting to see what the outcome is. And we'll give you more information via social media and, of course, in the next programme, which is on the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit configuration next Saturday, same time. So I do hope that you'll be able to join us from that. So 20-minute qualifying is coming up for our second race of the weekend, but second set of races for the weekend. And that is already underway. A couple of drivers had some issues. A couple of fancy drivers had some issues in race number 1. One of those was Isaac Smith there in the 1-2-3 car, who was very quick in testing, the reigning BRSCC Fiesta champion. So Isaac looking to try and move up the order. What we'll of course see, spectacular bit of curb riding there from the 1-2-3 machine. What you start to see, of course, is the drivers that will really get into the groove. Some have practiced more than others. I know there's been a fair amount of testing that's gone on over the last few weeks. That some have done it more than others. Some, for example, didn't join us for the test race in the week, and I suspect that those guys could probably be at a little bit of a disadvantage. You saw an off, I think it was Frankie Taylor, who was slightly off circuit there in the number 32 car. We saw a little bit of Frankie in race number 1. But Isaac on his hot lap at the moment here. So who's the tip, Anthony, for races 2 and 3?
Well, I mean, based on the form we've seen, so Dave Marshall's going to be up there, Josh Hislop's going to be up there, but I think actually I was really impressed by Lewis Brown's consistency and actually Josh Martin as the Cooper class driver from the real world. So no, I think it's going to be likely to be those, but I wouldn't be surprised if we also see Isaac perhaps picking up the pace a bit, because he's definitely shown some better pace in testing. And of course, Max Coates, I bet, expects to be showing better form too.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. We saw Scott Thorne going through shot there in the number 30. Oh no, we missed him. Scott Thorne 49 car, big on the AT Motorsport car. And he's one of the drivers that we're going to be keeping a focus on over the course of race 3 of this first weekend. We are going to have, I was going to say a commentator's pick, but all of the officials are going to have a sort of pick driver that we can gain a look at. Someone who might not necessarily be at the front of the race, but somebody mid-order, just to try and give a little bit of focus on a driver who otherwise we might not get to see in the race. So we're going to try and do that. In race 1 we did Tom O'Farrell, Max Bird in the race that we just had, and as I say, the race coming up is Scott Thorne, who we're going to be looking at. He's in the 49 car, and we'll be trying to give a little bit of focus for Scott over the course of the race.
It's a very colourful car, that one, isn't it, Richard?
It is. Actually lives in London now. I think I said he was Essex-based, but living in London at the moment. Ran the London Marathon in 2008. And he, believe it or not, I don't know if you know this, Anthony, but he was made it through the audition stage of Britain's Got Talent.
I didn't know that. What was his...
He doesn't say. So it was either something very embarrassing. I don't know. It's probably another one of these guys like Dave Marshall who's very talented at whatever he's done. So he has run the marathon and he got through. We'll find out from Scott. I'll make sure we'll have a chat with him before our next event. He got married last year, so congratulations on that. And he said that the marriage causes his actual racing career to cease for a couple of years. So I'm sure his wife would be delighted to hear that.
I'm sure that will be the case. Well, the livery looks inspired by the Ministry of Sound. Lots of lasers, or maybe something more psychedelic involved.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, could be it. He's down as a sim class driver. But he's actually done a wee bit of circuit racing as well. Raced in the Clio 182 Championship in 2015.
Yeah.
And was running in the BMW Compact Cup, and will be running in BRSCC Club Sport as well. So he's actually got a little bit of circuit racing experience, which is good to know. Now, simulator-wise, some of the information that Max has put together for us is what sim are you using, and I did promise that we'd talk about what kit people were using. Scott Thorne's using a Logitech G29 wheel and pedals, no shifter. The rig that he's got is actually a homemade one, using his own Sparco race seat, which came out of his Clio. So you can use some of your own equipment to get set up. He's using his home Dell PC with a few custom mods to make it race worthy. So a bit of background for you about the rig that Scott Thorne is using. Now, Dave Marshall, who won race 1, comes from Seaham, so another northeastern driver in County Durham. There's a lot of strong races from up there. And just looking to the timing screen, it is Josh Hislop, unsurprisingly, with Dave Marshall, who are 1 and 2 at the moment, with Max Coates third. Rob Butler's upped his game. Rob Butler in 4th place, then Josh Martin, Isaac Smith. We're beginning to get a little bit of a pattern emerging now over the races that we've had and qualifying wise. So Isaac Smith 6th, Ryan Elliott 7th with Lewis Brown. Tobin Lee bangs in a quick one and goes into 4th place. He was on the podium in race number 1 as we look at Rob Butler in the 74. Rob now in 5th position on the timing screen with 13 minutes to go. There is definitely a pattern coming now.
Yeah, it does look like it. And some of the names there banging in some good lap times and threatening for the pole position. But nevertheless, those two, Josh Hislop and Dave Marshall, seem to be the consistent, really quick runners. But let's see if some of the other guys really put something in that just can challenge those top runners.
Max is on a little bit of a run at the moment. Max Coates lifts the wheel there, fairly tiny. Let's see whether he can improve from 3rd position. Dave Marshall now goes onto pole again. So Marshall is setting out the stall for being the pole-meister here in this championship. Josh Hislop still 2nd. Max didn't improve, remains in 3rd, but he's got 9 tenths at the moment over, 9 hundredths over Tobin Lee, and then Rob Butler. As more cars join the fray, there's Callum Newsham in the 16 car. Where is Callum at the moment? Looking to try and break into the top 20. Here's Callum. So his dad, I don't know if you know this, Hans, his dad used to be a speedway rider.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
absolutely not. No, I know Dave. We often have a good long chat at the Mini Challenge race meetings. I find him a great guy to chat with and enjoy some time with.
Yeah, he was actually quite modest about that, but I do like a bit of motorbike speedway, and I really take my hat off to anybody who has done that, because that is for the bravest of the brave, throwing those speedway bikes around.
Yeah, that's for sure. Very exciting actually to watch speedway.
Fantastic sport to watch. Another one that we really can't wait to get back to. I think club level speedway is one where social distancing is possible, because they sadly don't get very good crowds now. But
no,
they will be able to hopefully get some events on. There's Tobin Lee in the 55, drops to 5th because Dave Marshall quickest, Josh Martin in 2nd, Josh Hislop 3rd, then Max Coates, Tobin 5th ahead of Rob Butler, then Isaac Smith. Alex Toth-Jones, who's really going to have the bit between his teeth after getting tagged coming down the Craner curves in race 2, is in 8th place. Brad Hutchison 9th. Ryan Elliott rounding out the top 10 from Jack MacIntrye, and Lewis Brown down in 12th place. It just shows how competitive this is, that Lewis is down there as we watch Jack MacIntrye going through. So Jack 11th at the moment, hoping to ping a fast one. He's got a bit of circuit space to work with here. So if his first couple of sectors have worked out well, he could be hauling himself up into the higher reaches of the top 10. Let's see what he can do. Down behind Lewis Brown is Scott Jeffs. Then it is James MacIntyre.
Well, Josh Martin, Cooper class driver, putting some pressure on Dave Marshall now.
Being
It's
very
only,
close, isn't it?
yeah, 300ths off. Be interesting to see how that pans out. Both in the pits at the moment, by the looks of it.
Yep. There is Ryan Elliott, 10th position at the moment. Quick reminder on the format: we've got the 20-minute race 1, and then the top 10 positions will be swapped over, partial reverse grid, as Ryan Elliott clears some traffic. That's going to actually hold him up a little bit. You do need to try and time your run so that you can get some clear circuit around here. Lewis Brown's going to be a little bit cheesed off to be 12th, I think, in this one.
Well, when I was talking to Lewis after, he mentioned traffic being he needed to try to fix his second qualifying session of the day. So it does seem that the fact that we've got so many cars on track.
That, of course, is just like the real world sessions where you have to just pick your time to go out and try and bang the lap time in. I'm, for one, absolutely cannot wait for the season to get going properly. It's been far too long. And how are the preparations going?
Well, we're just we've had the calendar from TOCA, the TC organisers, but we're just working out what calendar works for us. I've been in comms with all the registered drivers to work out the best format, and I think we're very keen to work with people. So the likelihood is that we'll end up with a cut down season, probably 5 or 6 rounds instead of it was originally, just to help people manage the budgets.
Yeah.
But what that might then do is open up the opportunity for the Cooper class races to be on the TOCA package, and them getting the coverage that brings.
That would be good too. We had some super races, didn't we, in those last year as well? So really good.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of the pro class drivers' dads in the week, and he's just so excited about the racing they did. I won't name names because we're just sort of chatting to him about speculative stuff at the moment, but they absolutely loved it. Really,
Scott Jeff's pumped in a good lap, knocked himself up a few places.
Yeah, into the top 10. Great spot there. Scott Jeff's into 8th position, up ahead of Isaac Smith. Dave Marshall still on pole, with Josh Martin P2, Josh Hislop P3. Josh Hislop now, with those 2 good results, this is going to be absolutely fine for him, isn't it? Just to keep him, he'll want the win, because they all do, but he'll know with 1st and 2nd place points in the bag, he'll just be happy now to keep notching up big point scoring finishes.
Absolutely, it's points make prizes. Literally.
Yeah, absolutely right. Alex Toth-Jones in the 11th car. Where is Alex? He's in the top 10. I think we're going to get quite a few different winners over the course of this season. Just seen Rich Hayden's name go through the graphic. Is he out there? So Alex Toth-Jones then trying to get further up into the top 10. Front 2 rows at the moment: Dave Marshall, Josh Martin, Josh Hislop, and Max Coates. Tobin Lee, 2nd in class for the Sim lads. And then Rob Butler, followed by Brad Hutchison, Scott Jeffs, Isaac Smith, Alex Toth-Jones. You've got to say, it's the real racers that if this was a team event, scoring points for selected circuit races against the Sim boys, it's the circuit guys that are occupying more of the main positions. If you look at Kenny Press, didn't see Kenny in race number 1, 41-year-old. Now, is Kenny the oldest guy in? I've made a note here. Kenny Press, number 5. I think one of the oldest drivers in the competition, 41 years of age, comes from Drake, Derbyshire, so lives very near to the simulated circuit that we're seeing here. And good to see him.
Lewis Brown just popped up into 5th, and there's a change. It's actually really closing up front. The gaps are tiny. Max Coates also popping up there into 6th.
Yeah, Max and Lewis doing well. We had a quick look at Craig Timmins in the 36 car. Craig enjoying himself. First chance we've had to see. Oh, and
possibly a little bit wide there.
Yeah, Maybe you heard his name mentioned. I don't know. Lost his concentration.
Commentator's
there.
curse.
Yeah, absolutely right. Goodness knows how many times he's been accused of putting the kibosh on people like that. Alex Toth-Jones ahead of him. So Alex actually a good guy for him to watch. Alex still in the top 10 in 8th place. We've got a quarter of the session left. Dave Marshall doing what he did for the first race, which was getting out, setting that quick lap straight away. And I'm not sure if he's in the pits, but you kind of get the idea that he bangs in the lap, goes back to the pits, gets out of the car and stands there on the pit wall with his arms folded, watching the others try and bring it to him.
I think that sounds to be exactly pretty much what he does. I think his experience is showing there. Is he just go and he actually is back on track again, but metaphorically park it up and let everybody else see what they can do. But, I don't think he's got it. I don't think he's got it in the bag yet, though.
No, he hasn't. Jack MacIntyre goes into 2nd position now. Josh Martin 3rd, then Josh Hislop. What this does do is that everybody's now we get into the 3rd race, everybody's starting to get a little bit of rhythm, a little bit of momentum going, and we get all of the quicker runners all at the front. So we didn't see Dave Marshall having lifting a wheel on the curbs there. James MacIntyre, that's the dedication that gets him into P2. Now, was that a little bit too much to maybe see him pinch pole position, because he's only 300ths away from Dave Marshall, but very definitely James MacIntyre in the Green Reaper having a very good go. Runs a little bit wide there, but that was really indicative of the commitment from the 47 car.
We've only got 7 tenths all the way down to 20th place.
Yeah,
it's very, very close.
So James still trying to pop in another hot lap, but this is going to be absolutely fascinating when we get all the drivers, the quick drivers, all together. And
I think, Richard, actually that could be it's Jack MacIntyre. Too many MacIntyres in this on this grid. I think we've got Jack MacIntyre up at the front, or close to the front, although just a little bit of a change there. I think Dave Marshall's just gone a touch quicker again. But yes, I think it's James MacIntyre down in 17th. I think. Yes.
Oh, yes.
Sorry to correct you on that one.
No, thank you for pointing that out. Otherwise, I'll just spout on all day. And
the main reason is I know championship. His Green Reaper is one that we spot all the time. So
yeah. So Tobin Lee 2nd now. So the sim racers 1 and 2 at the moment. There is Tobin in the 55 car, busy chasing Simon Reed, number 35, and Tobin 400ths down on Dave Marshall at the moment. So all sim front row lining up at the moment, with Jack MacIntyre next up. Jack, another sim racer. So Jack Mac 3rd, just making a note of these so that as we head towards the race, we've got some semblance of a grid that we can refer to. Josh Martin in 4th. Lots of Jacks and Joshes, aren't there, in this?
Yes. So there was Jack MacIntyre's car just going through there with a Union Jack roof. So let's see what he can do.
Josh H 5th, Lewis Brown in 6th position, then Max Coates and ATJ. Our top 8 at the moment, followed by Brad Hutchinson and Rob Butler. As we look at Jack MacIntyre, as you say, still working hard. Tobin, 126 to go on this qualifying session. Dave Marshall's going to be very happy with this. Is he going to be the first racer to bag a double? The story, if you missed it in race number 1, was that he had a lights to flag victory. Tobin Lee manages to make the pass on the 37 car. So
I think we probably, it looks like maybe Jack's just either hot lap,
yeah,
or perhaps retiring to pits, calling it a day, but we'll see shortly.
Max Bird, featured driver in race 2, down in 20th. Tom Williams just ahead of him. Rue Clark, haven't mentioned either. Rue Clark in the 52 car. The 19-year-old from Glasgow is 18th. 17th is James MacIntyre, and then Callum Newsham 16th. Again, with Jordan Brennan. Callum Newsham and Jordan Brennan, teammates, have been tied together for a lot of this, which is unusual to see. They've been separated by one car here and there, but together 15th, 16th, with Jordan with the bragging rights at the moment, or Bear, as he's known apparently by the family. As we watch Billy Hardy coming through. Billy looking to try and get up into the top 20. 5 seconds to go now on this session. They'll be able to complete the lap that they start, but anybody coming across the line after this will now see the checkered flag.
So it'll be interesting to just see whether any of those five displace Dave from the top spot. Pole man currently Dave Marshall from the previous races obviously was there as well, so yeah, he clearly able to bang in the quick laps.
Yeah, Josh Hislop 5th, Lewis Brown 6th, Max Coates. So yeah, the top 8 as they were a couple laps away from the end of the session.
Yeah, so there's Rue's car, Arnold Clark sponsored car dealership group.
So is Rue Clark part of the Clark family? Arnold Clark group?
He is indeed, absolutely.
Okay, right.
I'm not quite sure about the family tree, but certainly is part of the family. Yes.
So I think shaping up very nicely then for our third of 4 races coming up in just a few minutes' time, with pole position going to Dave Marshall for the second time in 2 qualifying sessions here at Donington Park. Tobin Lee will start alongside him. So 2 sim races on the front row of the grid. On row 2, it is Jack MacIntyre, another sim racer. So it's a 1, 2, 3 for the sims. Then we've got Josh Martin, the real world mini racer, is in 4th position. Josh Hislop, we reckon currently championship leader, will line up in 5th position. Then Lewis Brown, another real world driver. In fact, a plethora of real world drivers after that, because after Lewis on row 4 of the grid, it was Max Coates and Alex Toth-Jones, assuming that there weren't any last minute changes. I don't think there were. I did try and look as I scribbled those down, but that's how the front 4 rows will line up for our second race. Richard John Neal with you here with Anthony Williams, the Championship Director of Mini Challenge UK. Looking forward, Anthony, to this second race.
Very much so. I think it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out, to be honest. The sim races, maybe there's a bit of stamina coming in. They seem to have put in some pretty good results in session, but it will be interesting to see how the race pans out again in these next couple of races.
I agree with that entirely. It is going to be fascinating to see. And again, remember, top prizes for the top sim racer and the top overall driver. The countdown, though, is about to get underway. Look to the gantry lights, which have appeared on screen. 2 on, 3 on. There was a long wait for race number 1. Longish wait again for race 3, and away we go. Dave Marshall gets away well. Tobin flicks across. Tobin Lee into 2nd position, and is defending that, but there's an attack on the outside line. And Dave Marshall again was perfect off the start. And let's have a look at Tobin Lee, who's defending that 2nd position very well at the moment as they go down into the Craner curves. And looking very, very good indeed. But Dave Marshall, this is what he wanted to do in race 1. What he wants to do again is a clean start and then just try to eke away. But Tobin Lee, good start for 2nd position here. Is he going to rack up some good points here as well? Josh Martin in green, busy challenging as well, and challenging for that 3rd place. But it's Marshall from Lee at the minute. Tobin Lee is getting on the case of Dave Marshall here. And those 2 putting a little bit of a gap between themselves and Jack MacIntyre, another sim racer in 3rd position. So the sim lads cut the cars off at the back and just trying to work out, that was the bright green machine, wasn't it, that was off at the back as the leaders come down through into chicane for the first time.
And Tobin Lee, how close is he going to be able to get to Dave Marshall? The end of lap number 1. It's a reasonable gap. Now we've got that looked like Lewis Brown going into pit lane.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah, Lewis Brown. That is a big shame for Lewis. We were expecting him to get some big points here as Dave Marshall continues to lead, but a challenge on for third place. Josh Martin really coming under pressure at the moment, and that's going to slow third and fourth position up and allow the leading pair to start to get away. It is early days, and we've got 20 minutes of race time for them all to be able to try and get back in. Some shenanigans a little bit further down the order as they come down through the crane of curves. Car off on the grass. Big spearing off into the gravel there as well. Behaved themselves impeccably, I thought, through down to Redgate for the first time. And as sometimes happened in real life, you know, the clerk of the course, the race director, will sort of read the riot act to tell them to behave themselves on lap 1. And then when they get through that, they think about that. But then the switch gets flicked for lap 2, and then, you know, all that sort of thing does start. That mirrors the real world in so many categories. But Marshall looking good here at the moment, Anthony.
Yeah, again, it's just a solid and composed drive, isn't it, at the moment? Little spinner. Was that Max Coates in the background? I think it was, unfortunately. Spinning off over to the left-hand side.
It was. Good spot. Little nudge on the concrete barrier there. Manages to rejoin fairly quickly. So Marshall and Lee 1 and 2 are building a bit of a gap here, getting away.
The guys behind are going to have to get on it if they want to have a chance of catching those two.
Josh Martin, Jack MacIntrye, Josh Hislop, provisional championship leader back there in 5th position, the NHS livery on the side of that car. And he just sounded so cool, didn't he, as well, in that interview after race 2. And it was almost like, well, think nothing of it, really.
No, indeed. Just an all day's work.
But he's got some work to do now, and this is what I was looking forward to, and will look forward to in the reverse grid race, and seeing these boys have the work. And we'll see whether Jack MacIntyre can fend off Josh Martin here. Martin on the outside line, MacIntyre on the inside, side by side to a point. It gets sorted out by the time they get into the turning, going into the chicane. And now, very good run there by Josh Hislop out of the chicane onto the outside line, buzzes the pit wall. He's got the position done. He got a very good run out of the chicane. So Josh is up into 4th place, but coming back at him now is Jack MacIntyre. So Hislop keeping it tight and almost giving room to MacIntyre on the outside line as they go down into the crane of curves once again. And this is allowing Josh Martin to start to build up. You can see as 4th and 5th start to battle with each other, technically slowing each other up a little bit. Fantastic battle between the two. They need, in some respects, to work together to try and close in on the third man. But now coming back into it again is MacIntyre all over the back of Josh Hislop in 4th place. Hislop, remember, championship leader. He will not want to have any untoward doings on track. No contact, no retire. He'll want to preserve that championship lead, even at this early stage of the season. Any points you can get in the bag are going to be so valuable to him. Marshall and Lee away down the road. Josh Martin in 3rd place, and this a fine battle for 4th.
Yeah, it's very exciting, isn't it? But like you said, Josh realised that although it's early days, he's still got to make sure he picks up those points. Is that a move on Dave Marshall? Looks like Tobin is making a move around the outside, possibly.
Well, still focused on the battle.
Oh, they've just swapped back again. No, they swapped back again. They're just side by side in the crane of curves together.
He's got him round the outside, hasn't he? Great spot there from Anthony Williams as Tobin Lee takes the lead. Very neat move by Dave Marshall. So Tobin Lee, who's not been far away so far, really getting into the groove here. And Dave Marshall putting it back right under pressure again. Up through Schwantz curve. Here they come now into Schwantz, up towards McLean's. Marshall the chaser now. This is so good to see. Tobin Lee, the race leader, actually managing to put out a couple of lengths lead at the moment. Josh Martin still in 3rd, wants to get in the mix as well.
Yeah, that little battles that allowed Josh to catch up about half a second to the 2 front runners. So this is bringing Josh Martin, not quite into play yet, but getting closer. Yeah,
the more they tussle with each other, the more it is going to free up the chasers to be able to close in. As we see Alex Toth-Jones, he's in 6th place at the moment. Then Rob Butler. Still this Bosch on the back end there of the Jack MacIntyre car. Race leaders go through again, and it's still Tobin Lee from Dave Marshall with Josh Martin in third. MacIntyre and Hislop having a good battle. Alex Toth-Jones, he deserves a bit of luck in this one, Alex. I say luck, but he's working hard, you know. After that little skirmish in race 2, saw him drop right down the order. And he's beginning to get a bit of momentum. For my money, he's in 6th position here, ahead of Rob Butler. Then it is Matt Richards in the number 4 car. Following them, Isaac Smith in 9th. He's starting to try to get into play as well, with Scott Thorne in 10th place, our featured driver, up into the top 10, Scott Thorne. So Scott having a very good run. There is Isaac Smith going through Schwantz, chasing Matt Richards at the moment. Uphill climb in towards Coppice Corner, where the cars appear again. If you've never been to the real Donington Park, it is a superb day out. It's a wonderful circuit. And the gradient changes that you have, it's a circuit where you go for the first time. I really thoroughly recommend that you walk around the outside of the track to take in just what a spectacular circuit is and just how hard the drivers have to work on it.
It's a great circuit to drive, particularly you swoop down those trainer curves. Is it the old hairpin at the bottom?
That's right, yeah.
And yeah, that's just a fantastic sequence of corners. It really is.
So back with Isaac Smith, Matt Richards down behind him. So progress for Isaac Smith. Still Tobin Lee out front from Dave Marshall, with Josh Martin in 3rd place. Hislop and MacIntyre still fighting over 4th. MacIntyre still holding that position at the moment. And you've got drivers like Luke Kidsley down in 20th position, who was up at the sharp end in the earlier races today. And at the moment, being got the better of by Theo Bridgeman and Ethan Hammerton. Ethan in 18th place, Brad Hutchison ahead of them, Simon Reed in 16th, Tom Williams in 15th place. So wherever you look, talented drivers in this field. This is the battle for the lead, though. Dave Marshall in blue, busy chasing Tobin Lee. So
I think, Richard, yeah, the pace is just so easy that what makes the difference is when they get into little battles, like they're going to look like they're going to do again here. That's what costs them the time and allows everybody else to bunch up behind. It's all about just keeping clean, consistent racing. And as soon as you start getting to a fight, it falls away.
Absolutely right. As Marshall now looks around the outside line, down through the crane of curves. He's got the inside. Yeah, the inside for this bit, but Tobin Lee holds his nerve, grabs the line into the old hairpin. Some good defensive driving earlier on in the lap there from my book from Tobin Lee, but Marshall still challenging hard. And now he's got the inside line as they head up in towards the cranes. If he can brave out the outside line here at Schwantz Corner, is he going to be able to do it? They're giving each other room. This is great racing between the pair of them. Lee gets more momentum though, just jinks across and grabs it. Marshall back to the outside line as they come into Coppice. Superb racing. Goes for the cutback now. Is Lee going to drift wide as they come out of Coppice? Yes, they do. And Marshall read that well. Jinks up on the inside line, but watch Josh Martin coming into play as well. And they come downhill along Exhibition Straight. Tobin Lee defended hard, but ultimately outwitted there by Dave Marshall, who goes back into the lead. Tobin Lee down into 2nd. 3rd place, Josh Martin will sense an opportunity to close in on these two now. Fantastic.
Oh, what a beautiful bit of racing that was. But that's allowed Josh to catch up nearly a second just in those couple of corners. So he's really starting to come into play now. And I wouldn't be surprised if these guys keep battling that we're going to really, well, we have battle. In fact, it might not be long before 5 comes.
Absolutely right. This is exactly what Mini Challenge UK eSeries racing is about, as Tobin Lee grabs the outside line and goes through back into the lead. Marshall relegated to 2nd, but watch for Josh Martin in 3rd place. Martin very much there. Marshall's not going defensive. He's in attack mode and having a good go, but Martin sees the gap on the inside line. He's got him. Josh Martin comes through. Can he make it a double manoeuvre? No, it's just into 2nd for the moment. So Josh Martin has reeled them in, and off goes Tobin Lee. Bitter disappointment for Tobin Lee. Bitter disappointment for us. He's back across the track, but it's Josh Martin, the leader now from Dave Marshall. Action further back as well. Theo Bridgeman in the mix. Oh, it's all going off, Anthony.
Oh, just can't keep up with the action. It's incredible.
Well, great racing. Tobin Lee's going to be very disappointed about that. He was putting on a real fine show as we watch Josh Hislop, who is now in 4th place. and could still do some more here. So it's Dave Marshall, the leader. Jack Mack is in second. Josh Martin down to third now. And Josh Hislop, the two Joshes battling hard over third place, going into Redgate. Running a little bit wide. Fifth position is Alex Toth-Jones at last in a good point scoring position. Rob Butler sixth. Isaac Smith seventh from Tobin Lee, who is recovered in eighth place. Matt Richards in ninth. Scott Thorne, featured driver, in 10th position. So some great stuff going on from Scott at the moment.
This race isn't over, is it? We've got a lot more action with these four front runners to come.
Absolutely superb stuff, and we're just over halfway here as the Ski Tyres 89 car trying to defend from the championship leader, Josh Hislop, who's having a good go. Looks to the inside line, sees the gap there, but he'll be tighter on the exit of Coppice, and that might not give him as much momentum as he would otherwise like. And you can see how that pans out as they come down the straight. This is how accurate the sims are these days. It really does mirror what you would see in real life. And Josh Martin holds on to third place, but it's side by side for the lead. And Jack Mack's got his nose in front now. And Dave Marshall, contact between the two, bang, as they come down the straight. And Jack MacIntrye goes through past Dave Marshall. Hislop challenges for third, looks on the inside line, and he's got it. Martin down into fourth place now. Ran a little bit wide, but one thing we know about Josh is that, the following Josh, is that he will come back and have another go. But we've got four cars. As you predicted, if Tobin Lee would have been with him, this would have been a 5-car train for the lead. As it is, Alex Toth-Jones is trying to close in and join them as well.
No, I think you're right. With these guys battling, the going to be long before 5 car. And I wouldn't be wanting to put any money on any of them at the moment. It's just too close to call.
I agree entirely. So it's Jack MacIntyre in front. Are we going to see a third different race winner in this event? This has been absolutely superb so far. But Dave Marshall wants to be the first man to grab a double. Either way, a little bit of eSeries racing history in the making here on the Donington configuration. And look at Toth-Jones closing in now. The MSL car, he's flying. He's closing in on the top 4 after bitter disappointment in race 2. He got the lightest of tags from Max Coates, who had already had a big save coming across the track and tagged him, and Alex dropped back down the order. But what a wonderful shot from Alex Toth-Jones now, coming down through the Craner curve. Just watch this. Superb stuff as he tries to reel in the top 4. Toth-Jones fifth, Rob Butler behind him, then Isaac Smith. But we're looking ahead to Josh Martin, who's in fourth place, as Dave Marshall gets his nose back in front. Marshall back in front, but now around the outside goes MacIntyre again.
Dave's under pressure.
He is, yes. Now Dave Marshall coming under pressure from Josh Hislop in third place, and this could free up Jack MacIntyre to have a little bit of breathing space, because the one car behind him is really more under pressure from the third place man just now, and it is 5 cars for the lead because Alex Toth-Jones has made it a quintet for lead position.
Yeah, it was always going to happen, wasn't it, Richard, with the other car battling. Alex is going to reel them in, and it's a question now of whether or not he can make further progress of the race.
It's great. Let's hope that he can stick with them. It seems like I've known Alex a good long while. He's still only 23 years of age, the Bradfordian, as they come across the line. Jack MacIntyre's still there. 5 minutes plus 1 lap to go. Almost a pity we can't extend this one, but remember, we've still got another race to go with a reverse grid, and they'll all be in relative positions because it's the top 10 that get reversed for our next race.
So that would put our Barbadian, Damien, if it stays the way as it is.
Yes, it is. Yeah, great call. Great spot there with Scott Thorne having been demoted by Damien Hall. So there is Damien in the 246 car. Great work from our race director going back to check him out. As you can see, actually not that far ahead of Scott Thorne at the moment. Then Rue Clark in 12. So, if there's any problem in the top 10, we could see any of those 3 drivers taking pole position for race number 2 in the partially reversed grid. But Barbadian doing a good job at the moment, and on for a little bit of time in the limelight as Jack Mack still leads this one. Dave Marshall in second. Marshall looking in his mirrors at Josh Hislop, and if he does look in his mirror, his virtual mirror, of course, he will be thinking, actually, now he knows, because he'll probably work the points out, he'll know that Josh Hislop is going to be one of his arch rivals for the overall title. And remember, top sim driver
gets a weekend's drive and coaching in a real mini challenge car of competition weekend, and the top real world driver gets a full VRRC sim setup as well. 2 superb prizes, as well as this organisation raising money for the NHS. So however you see it, it's all good. Great racing, great fundraising, great prizes.
No, they certainly are some good prizes, Richard. I guess these guys are going to be working really hard to try and make sure they rack up those points to give themselves the best chance of winning at the end of the season.
Absolutely right. This is a super shot, isn't it, from Alex Toth-Jones? Really getting. You can see the lines. This is very much what This is very much like touring car racing with the line virtually identical, and it's going to really rely on a little mistake from one driver, from someone else, to just nip up the inside line and maybe make up a position.
They've just sort of settled down in the last lap or two, but I'm feeling it's a storm. I can't imagine that these guys are going. Oh!
Josh Martin loses it under braking going into the chicane. Now, where's he recovered to? He's still showing in 5th position at the moment. He has kept it going as MacIntrye comes under pressure from Dave Marshall once again. Now, is Hislop playing a waiting game here in 3rd place because he's right up with them. He's got less pressure now because Josh Martin drops back. Alex Toth-Jones now finds himself in 4th. And it's fair to say Hislop hasn't really at the moment got the pressure from Toth-Jones, who's going to get a decent point score here. So is it going to be Hislop who'll be able to come through, or is Dave Marshall going to make a move? And Marshall comes offline, sticks his nose down the inside line. It's the outside for the next corner, but the twists and turns of Donington means that if you've got the outside on one corner, it can convert to the inside for the next. And that's what Marshall wanted. Marshall's got his nose in front here and grabs the inside line as they come up towards comes up towards Coppice once again. Well, it's MacIntyre that hangs on to it. Marshall is second. Now, Josh Hislop's going to have a look. Jinx to the inside. Nothing doing there. Alex Toth-Jones is actually reeling them in again. And Josh Martin might fancy his chances of closing in too. There's a little bit of a gap back to Isaac Smith, who's in pretty comfortable 6th place at the moment, from Tobin Lee, who, remember, was the early leader of this race. Then Rob Butler. But at the moment, the quartet, as Dave Marshall goes for the textbook dive down the inside at Redgate, gets his nose in front. Is he going to be able to make it stick on the inside line? A little bit wide there from Jack MacIntyre, and Dave Marshall's got the lead back. Superb move.
That was a great move, wasn't it?
Yeah, Dave Marshall, well, if he can translate that into real circuit racing, that's going to be something special. Inset, in-car view from Josh Hislop. 3rd position, now challenging for 4th, but Alex Toth-Jones is right behind as well. Can't see his mirror graphic to see how close Alex is, but I can tell, well, there he is now on the right-hand pane. You can see that he's right with him, and Josh Martin's not finished either.
No, this is far from over.
33 seconds plus 1 lap. By my reckoning, then 2 laps left, because I reckon we should get through this one. Here they come down the straight again. MacIntyre jinks to the outside line once again, but it's Dave Marshall still out front. Marshall takes a very good, not overly defensive line into the chicane. Maintains lead position from MacIntyre. Hislop, Toth-Jones, Josh Martin is next. These 5. Surely the winner is going to come from here. MacIntyre goes wide, looking for momentum through Redgate, on the exit of Redgate, down through Hollywood and into the Craner curves. Marshall runs wide, and MacIntyre's got a little bit of extra speed from that wide run into Redgate and pops his nose down the inside line. But Dave Marshall's got the next apex on the inside. They platter once again. And I'll tell you what, MacIntyre's having none of it. He would not be forced into a mistake and gets back. So it's MacIntyre the leader, but Marshall is gunning to try and hold on to the outside line here as they go through Schwantz side by side still into McLean's, and Marshall back into lead position. Fine motor racing, or simulation motor racing from these drivers. Absolutely wonderful.
I think Josh Hislop's just nipped in front of Jack MacIntyre. The battle with Dave Marshall's probably just cost Jack a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely spot on, Anthony. He's got up into 2nd position here. So this guy so far, Josh Hislop, has not finished outside the top 2.
What a result that would be for him.
Mega result for Josh Hislop, the young Scot. And we think about, Scott, and now was that Alex Toth-Jones? Somebody disappearing off into pit lane.
Still Dave Marshall.
Josh Martin, maybe?
Josh Martin. Yes, it was, wasn't it? Yeah. There is Alex still there. So Alex Toth-Jones on for a podium here. So this is great news for him. Real hard work after disappointment in race number 1, as we said. And Hislop up into second. I was about to wax lyrical about how many great Scottish saloon car drivers and indeed single-seater drivers we've had over the years, but obviously looking to perhaps be the next Aidan Moffat or above that probably Gordon Shedden as well.
Yes.
There is the 49 car Scott Thorne, who we were featuring this one, is still just outside the top 10.
Solid result though for him, I think, based on previous results.
Absolutely right, doing a grand job.
Commentator's curse again. He must be listening to you.
And now the battle on for third position. Toth-Jones passed by Jack MacIntyre, so Jack Mac back into third place. But Dave Marshall is going to be the first double winner. This is the final lap. Marshall's had pressure, he's fought back, he's lost the lead, he's got it back again, and he's going to grab a second checkered flag of the day. Dave Marshall in the 66 car will take the win. Josh Hislop, a fine second position, will, by my maths, extend the championship lead. Jack MacIntyre completes the podium. Alex Toth-Jones, superb fourth place. Fifth position, away down the road at the moment is Isaac Smith, but valuable points for the driver of the 1-2-3 machine, with Josh Martin next from Tobin Lee, then Rob Butler, Matt Richards, Damien Hall will take pole position, as you spotted, Anthony, earlier on in the race, will take pole position in the partial reverse, but that was a splendid race.
Oh, very exciting. So many changes to position, never really quite know it's going to be. We knew that Dave Marshall and Josh Hislop were a couple of the favourites, but it really was a case of Bridgeman coming to the top, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely right. Wonderful race. And so we get the opportunity at the end of this lap to talk to Dave Marshall. So it's becoming a little bit of a feature now, isn't it? The Dave Marshall and Josh Hislop show. Better scribble down the top positions so that we've got a note of those going forward.
A little bit disappointing, I think, for Max Coates. I'm expecting a result there for him. I think there was an incident earlier in the cost him dear. We saw him spear off pit lane entry, I think, on lap sort of maybe 2 or 3. So that's obviously hurt him.
Yeah.
And a bit of a shame for Josh Martin. He looked like he was forced for possibly taking the win, but didn't quite come out the way he wanted right towards the end there.
No, and same with Tobin Lee, who finished down behind him as well in 7th place. So could have been any one of really the top 10. Could have been.
In fact, it was them who came together, wasn't it, earlier, around about 10 minutes into the race, maybe 12 minutes into the race, I think. Or at least certainly they were on the same bit of time. And Tobin went off, whether or not that was self-induced or otherwise, I'll Clark decide.
Yeah. Well, down in Victory Lane, we've actually got our first 2 drivers there already. So we'll have a quick word with Dave Marshall, who's going to be an old hand at this. Dave, congratulations on your second win of the weekend. That was a fraught race. Don't forget to push to talk, Dave.
Hello, is that any better?
Ah, gotcha, mate. Yeah, congratulations on your second win of the day. That was a fraught race.
Sounds like we're having some technology challenges, Richard.
Yeah, let's move on to the second place man and Josh Hislop. Another cracking race, Josh. All very valuable points, and you're the only driver now to have, I think, 100% podiums across the 3 races. Well done.
Yeah, thanks. I'm delighted to be on the podium, 3rd time in a row. More good points, and it was a great race.
How are you finding racing against the sim lads, as we call them?
It's really good. They're really quick, and their racecraft, I'm sure you've seen, has been really good. So it's definitely a challenge.
And I had a few offs in that one, so it is about keeping things on track. And how much is it in your mind that you don't want to go for a risky move, but you do need to bring it home? How much of that is there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously in that race it was constantly trying to find a way forward without dropping back, and it was tough to kind of maneuver all the other cars, but it was great.
Well, congratulations on that. We've also got Jack MacIntrye, I think, in the commentary room with us as well. Jack, if you can push your mic button to chat back to us. Congratulations on the podium. Tell us about your race.
Thanks. Yeah, it was good. That was really tough. Somehow I made a few mistakes at the start and lost a few places, but managed to get back in front somehow. So much pressure from Dave. He's so quick. So much respect for him. But again, made another mistake towards the end and dropped back, but didn't give up. Somehow managed to get back on the podium. So.
Oh, that's good. What is it you're learning through racing in? This is I guess a much more formal discipline for you than normal. So what do you get out of it? What do you learn, and how are you developing?
Yeah, it's really good. I think Rich and the whole VRRC and Max and everyone's done a really good job of making it really legitimate. So it's really good from an organisational point of view, and to see how the inner workings of a proper league should work. It's really good. And then on track as well, the racing's great. All of the real guys are driving really well and are really competitive. So it's really.
Well done, mate. Thanks very much for that. So that's a quick word with all of our top three from race 3 here at Donington Park. Dave Marshall, the race winner, first double winner of the weekend. Josh Hislop, again, maintaining 100% record on the podium and mirroring the result from race 1. Marshall and Hislop first and second in race number 1. Toby Lee was third in race 1, but this time it was Jack MacIntrye who was out. I think we're going to get a closing word from Dave very quickly.
Yeah, that's racing, isn't it? That is some racing. If the chip continues like that, there's going to be a lot of sweat.
I think you're right, mate. Congratulations on the double win, and we look forward to seeing you out for race 2 in just a minute. So time is, as you heard Anthony Williams say earlier on, Damien Hall, the Barbadian driver, who's going to start pole position for this one, which is going to be pretty mega. Car's coming out ready for the start. I'm going to grab a little bit of water. I'll be back with you in just a moment.
So it looks like we're close to the start of this fourth race of the weekend. With our two front runners.
Yeah, Damien Hall, 10th position in race number 1. Alongside him, the number 4 car of Matt Richards. Then on row 2, 74, Rob Butler. We know he's capable of doing things off the front of the grid. And Tobin Lee. So Tobin, from 4th on the grid here, has been very quick in qualifying. And this is where the reverse grid format comes into play. 3 lights on, 4 on now, 5 on. And getting ready for the start. Race 4 is underway. The Mini Challenge UK eSeries 4th race of the day. Great start by Hall, who gets away in the position as they come down into Redgate for the first time. And that's a good accomplished start. I'm guessing the nerves are going to be just as bad. But through on the inside line goes Matt Richards through into the lead. Matt Richards grabs the lead from Damien Hall. So maybe Hall's little moment of glory. Tobin Lee is busy challenging and I think has got into 4th position, or remains in 4th position from that grid slot. So although this is a reverse grid, everybody pretty much holding their places pretty well. So Rob Butler running in 3rd place. Tobin Lee in 4th. The Butler looks for 2nd on the inside and clatters his way past. I don't think the 246 machine was maybe expecting that. There's more bodywork tape trading as they go up into Coppice for the first time, and Tobin Lee goes through on the inside run and making great progress is Alex Toth-Jones, who tags the back end of Damien Hall, who actually held it all together very well. But Hall's going to find himself back down where he finished, I think, in race number 2.1, if you want to call it that. Race 3, down in about 10th position. Lots of bumping. Oh, he really is in the wars. It's Hall, who has a clatter with Scott Thorne, who was our featured driver. The featured driver in this one, incidentally, is Frankie Taylor. And we'll find Frankie for you once things settle down. In fact, Frankie just going through shot. And
that was a baptism of fire for our pole sitter.
It was, wasn't it? And that's exactly the sort of thing you can expect. The reverse grid format is an absolute masterstroke, because you get drivers who might not necessarily have the confidence to be able to go out and pop an outright pole on. But once they've started from the front and had the experience of leading even for 3 or 4 corners, that builds to their experience, and they'll carry that forward into other races. As Frankie Taylor has a little moment on the grass, comes back on, overshoots again. I think a few cars are going to be able to get past him, but he'll be able to rejoin safely. The Janetta Junior graduate gets back on track, comes from Charlwood down near Gatwick Airport. So I guess it's nice and quiet for those guys at the moment.
I think
Sure.
we might have lost Josh Hislop. Where is he?
Yeah, that's again a good shout. Anthony's right, he's gone, isn't he?
That's going to mix up that championship. But again, Dave Marshall, though not quite there at the front, he's certainly in the points. We're at very good score of points at the moment if he stays there.
It's going to level things out, isn't it? Because Dave's had one bad point scoring finish, and now Josh will be in a similar boat. So
I think I may have seen him have spin or was tagged on by the chicane at the end of lap 1.
Right, okay, so that's going to be disappointing for him as we see Marshall there in the 66 car putting pressure on Jack MacIntyre. First time didn't speak to Jack after race number 1, but all these guys are accomplished speakers as well, which is good to have on the interview front.
And this is Isaac Smith. That the promise that he's shown is, this is his opportunity for it to actually translate into some good results and some points. He's up there in 3rd.
Yeah, he is. Oh, and is that Marshall spearing off to the outside line? It's certainly a blue car. Yeah, so Dave Marshall will have to get back on and get some momentum going as we watch Brad Hutchison side by side at the moment with Jack MacIntyre out along the exhibition straight. So a bit of a sort out. I guess as the racing goes on, there's going to be a little bit of fatigue creeping in, maybe some frustration from those drivers who haven't had the results that they want. MacIntyre just rides the curbs a little bit, but it's Matt Richards who is the leader at the minute from Tobin Lee in 2nd. Isaac Smith is in 3rd place. Are we going to see a repeat of what Isaac did on Thursday for the test race, which was get into the lead? He's got some work to do to close in on Tobin Lee. Tobin busy trying to focus on Matt Richards at the moment. So Tobin in P2, trying to close down on Richards. Richards, the 23-year-old Welshman. I don't think I've repeated that too often. I know I mentioned it on qualifying, but the Zancho SimSport machine running well. So it's Sim drivers 1 and 2, then the real world circuit drivers, Isaac Smith, Alex Toth-Jones, Rob Butler, Jack Mack in 6th, then Brad Hutchison, Tom Williams, Max Coates 9, ahead of Dave Marshall in 10th, then Drew Clark. Callum Newsham is in 13th from Ryan Elliott, Lewis Brown, Max Bird, Theo Bridgeman in 16th. So there is Max, busy chasing Tom Williams at the moment. Not been the day for Max, has it? He's been working hard, very hard behind the scenes. Just hasn't come his way, but he's going to put the move here on Tom Williams, tease him up nice and early. Tom sees him. Oh, I thought Tom was going to go into the back of him then, but he's fighting back around the outside line. Good fighting stuff from Tom Williams. Now, significantly, if Tom's got the run here in yellow and white, he'll have the inside line coming down into Redgate, but Max will have the faster outside sweep, but Williams fights back and gets 8th position back from Max Coates. Great racing between the pair again.
Yeah, it really is, isn't it? Great racing. And it'd be nice to see Max manage to get a result in this race. He was hoping, I think, far this weekend. Absolutely
agreed, Anthony. As Matt Richards now deposed by Tobin Lee, so Richards has now got the scenario where he can chase. A little bit less psychological pressure, they say, if you're the chaser. We'll see whether he can just close in on Tobin Lee. Meanwhile, Isaac Smith coming under pressure from Alex Toth-Jones, who finished that last race in 4th place. So Alex really starting to put together some good result now. And I'll tell you what, he's not going to be too far away points-wise if he maintains another podium or just outside podium position in this one. I can't believe we've had over a quarter of this race gone already. Well,
particularly with Josh Hislop, I think out of the points, right down there at the back at the moment, and Dave Marshall not really in a great point scoring position, although still with plenty of potential to pick up some more. Oh, nice race going on here for what place? Yes.
Yeah, Jack MacIntyre and the number 17 car there, Brad Hutchison in the mix as well. And wherever you look, there are battles of plenty going on. Tobin Lee 6 tenths, 7 tenths now ahead of Matt Richards with Alex Toth-Jones a little bit down, but we saw Alex earlier on. He'll be hoping that they maybe slow each other up. There is Jordan Brennan in the 98 car, 21-year-old from Preston. Car slowing there might have been Scott Thorne, possibly, our featured driver from race number 3. Jordan Brennan running well, and the Liquid Moly Norscott vending car having a very good run. So Jordan at the moment with Max Bird in the vicinity as well, just ahead of him in that gaggle of cars, with James MacIntrye immediately behind Jordan at the moment, putting pressure on him, and gets a bit of a tag on the back of him from Josh Martin, and well, that's one way of getting the car out of the way. I think inadvertent, but you know, to race closely in sim racing is just as difficult as racing in the real world with that close, and that's just a tiny little bit of contact sent the car askew and away. And that was a big one.
Yeah.
That's one of the advantages of sim racing, isn't it? That you can just literally bounce back from it, and that's so good to see.
So Chloe Meadows, who runs the park, hands well, I'm sure she would. She's desperately disappointed, I'm sure, but expecting to see him in the arts container.
There's Frankie Taylor, our featured driver for this race, and Frankie is actually in 34th place at the minute. 32 cars. We said Janetta Junior graduate, supports Fulham Football Club, but I won't hold that against him, to be perfectly honest. I suppose somebody has to. Although they are higher up than my team. We won't get into football because that's not always a good idea. Frankie's route, by the way, was like many drivers through karting, raced in the Junior Saloon Car Championship as well, and then the 2019 season in Ginetta. And says that he's really excited to be included in this eSeries, just wants to learn and head up towards the podium. And he, for the sim people, I apologise, I've not said too much about sims, but he's using a Simagic M10 driving GT wheel and Fanatec V3 Club Sport pedals, Fanatec Club Sport shifter. I did promise to try and get some sim information. I haven't done as much as I should do, and I'll try and correct that for you in the later rounds, just to keep everybody on board with the kit that people are using. But Isaac Smith in 5th place in blue.
Yeah, Brad Hutchinson's been on a little bit of a charge. Dragged
he's
a little bit of a gap out, but it's now really starting to home in on Alex Toth-Jones.
Yeah, Max Coates ahead of Jack Mack, who is ahead of Dave Marshall in 9th place. So this is going to be some bread and butter points here for Dave Marshall, very probably. Lewis Brown is down there as well. You can see in yellow, just outside the top 10 after a
bit of a gap there. I think so there's a gap between looking pretty safe. And similarly, Tobin up front has got a healthy lead over Matt, and similarly Matt's got a healthy for Alex. I think those two, if they can just hold it on the black stuff, they've got some strong results. It's really that battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th that is where the action is. Maybe even 7th, including Max.
Yeah, I agree with that. Tobin looking pretty comfortable at the moment in the Lazarus Esports entry. So fine run of cars coming through here. Lee from Richards out front. Alex Toth-Jones, fingers firmly crossed for him for a podium. In 3rd at the minute, but Matt Richards. Ryan Elliott there, sorry, getting it just a little bit sideways, but collects it all up. The 18-year-old doesn't actually, not too much damage for him. He's still down just the outer reaches of the top 20 at the moment. And remember, we had 35 cars entered for this championship, so it's a job to make sure that everybody gets some sort of a mention or coverage, which is why we're having a featured driver in every race. As we watch Isaac Smith now coming under pressure from Jack MacIntrye, who looks on the inside line. He can get the run here, he will get the place, coming along Exhibition straight side by side, certainly got the line. Has he got the momentum, or is Isaac Smith going to hold on to it? No, it's a great move by Jack MacIntrye, but Isaac Smith replaces the compliment. And did he rub him around the outside line there as well? There's Dave Marshall in the mix as well with Tom Williams. So Tom Williams and Dave Marshall there. Williams on the inside line and stays ahead of Dave Marshall, the double winner, who's down in 9th place. And it just goes to show how competitive this is and how difficult it is for the race 1 winner to make it back through the top 10 in this race to get up toward podium place here. Having said that, Alex Toth-Jones with 4th in race number 3, to my mind, is going to be the big scorer here out of the 2 races, with potential 3rd place as Dave Marshall comes under pressure once again from Jack MacIntyre. So Marshall is the man ahead at the moment, and that is 9th place. Lewis Brown in 11th, as you can see behind Isaac Smith, Tom Williams, Dave Marsh, Jack MacIntyre. Here's Frankie Taylor in the inset shot, still running well and gaining a huge amount of experience from doing this. And we'll be on his home circuit next week, Brands Hatch Indy. So he'll be looking forward to that, and hoping not to find the grass as he did there. But great to see Frankie out on circuit. And it's fair to say, we've got a real mix of abilities, haven't we, Anthony, in this series?
For sure. I mean, there's lots of different experience, lots of different levels of experience, and of course, there's going to be the odd incident you just saw there. But overall, racing has been extraordinarily close. Mixture of people up at the front, although clearly there still seems to be a little bit a theme going on. In fact, actually talking about themes, I still don't know where Josh is. I managed to pick him up. He's certainly not in the top 20. Josh Hislop.
No, it's disappointment for him, but he will fight back next week for sure. He's still going to have a hatload of points from the earlier races. But this is fascinating, isn't it? Dave Marshall, who double winner, busy trying to close down on Isaac Smith in the darker blue 1-2-3 car, but under pressure from Jack MacIntyre and Tom Williams. Tom having a good race here and has been slowly but surely climbing up the order over the 4 races that we've had. Down behind them is Lewis Brown. Lewis out of the picture at the moment in terms of that battle, but still Tobin Lee, the race leader in the 55 car, comes from Bath, 19 years of age, so plenty of youngsters, as you would expect in sim racing, doing the business here. As this battle still continuing on, and Dave Marshall makes it through. So Marshall goes through, and Jordan Brennan looking to make a position up on the inset as well. Jack MacIntyre still up ahead of Tom Williams there in that quartet, with Isaac Smith just at the head of them at the moment. Isaac running in 6th position, needs to try and close down on Rob Butler. Max Coates immediately up ahead of him in 5th place, but Tobin Lee still our race leader as we head towards the closing stages of our 4th and final race of our opening weekend of the Mini Challenge UK eSeries with Virtual Reality Racing Club. Big thank you to them. Big thank you to all of our partners who have put on such a superb competition, which is going to go from strength to strength over the upcoming weeks. Remember, same times, same place, not the same virtual place, of course, Brands Hatch Indy next week, as through goes Jack MacIntyre once again.
Oh, bit of action there.
See if there's going to be a pass. Is that Simon Reed going through in the 35 car? Is Simon Reed. Goes past Callum Newsham. Callum will be further back than he would want to be. We've got somebody coming into pit lane. Was that Brad Hutchison, possibly?
I think it possibly was.
Difficult to spot on this one. Yeah, Coates still putting pressure on Brad Hutchison here. Yeah. So called that wrong. Apologies to whoever got that one wrong for. But Max having a look down the inside line now. Can he just nip through? He is going for 4th position. And it's dogged stuff from Max Coates here, who we've seen racing many things. Of course, did make it up to touring cars very briefly as well. And front runner in Clio Cup. He's done some Ginetta racing as well. First met him when he was racing in kart. So he's a driver who's sort of had a parallel run with myself commentary-wise. And much more talented as a driver than I am as a commentator, I have to say, is Mr. Coates. His mum and dad busy running the Coates garage at Scorton and keeping everyone abreast of when they're safe to open on their social media channel. As Max dives down the inside line again, having a look at the inside of Brad Hutchison, who's holding on to this at the moment, but makes a little mistake, and Coates punishes him for that, nips through on the inside line. So Max Coates up into 4th place now. Next target will be Matt Richards, but it's Tobin Lee 6 seconds clear now. This is the biggest gap
we've seen at the front with Alex Toth-Jones in second position now, and contact there with Theo Bridgeman, the victim there in the 22 car. Ethan Hammerton immediately in front of him. Goodness me, this is all close stuff, isn't it? Going on here, and again another little punt on the side of Bridgeman Williams.
There's certainly some action down here in the... Oh!
No, Newsham cars going everywhere. Bridgeman clouts the 58 car of Josh Hislop as well. This has not been a happy race for Hislop. A triple Salco and a multi-spin for Theo Bridgeman. Well,
the RAF roundel there looked a little bit target.
Yeah, it's been in a battle, isn't it, that one?
Yes. Battle of Britain.
So, well, Theo learning his way, to be absolutely fair. So,
yes.
Whether any of these incidents are going to be clocked or not, we'll have to see, and we will have some sort of an update for you next week on how that all goes through. We've got another potential place change here because Tom Williams dicing hard with Jack MacIntyre, and it's Jack on the inside line. This is for 8th place, and MacIntyre has the upper hand there. Dave Marshall in behind. I would have expected to see Dave Marshall further up. I think Dave now has got Lewis Brown with him. So Lewis Brown in the yellow, black and white car has caught Dave Marshall and is putting a little bit of pressure on for a top 10 finish here, Lewis Brown, at the back of this quartet. With Jack MacIntyre still at the front of this group in 8th. Isaac Smith goes through shot now in 7th position. Tobin Lee still out front from Alex Toth-Jones, Matt Richards in 3rd. 1 minute 33 and 1 lap remaining. This has been another physical race. We haven't quite seen the lead place changes that we saw in race number 2, which for my money so far is race of the day. But great drive nonetheless from Tobin Lee and Alex Toth-Jones out front. Toth-Jones particularly working hard to come through. And just a couple of more laps of action for those guys to round up our first racing action.
Yeah, it certainly looks like it's settled down right at the front, hasn't it? This group. And, some other groups that are really putting on the racing entertainment for us.
Yep, Josh Hislop chasing Ryan Elliott here. So Josh still going, which means decent points for him. 19th position at the moment, which works out at that's the first place where you get anything more than 15 points. So it's absolutely crucial that he makes the move and makes it stick, because that extra point could come into play at the end of the season. So good stuff, but very physical down there, as you can see between those guys. But he's made it past Ryan Elliott. It's up into 18th place. Another point for 18th moves him from 16 to 17 points on the race for this one. Plus, of course, the 6 for fastest laps, if he can get it, as Max Coates comes under pressure from Matt Richards. Coming down towards us in shot is Alex Toth-Jones, who is running in 2nd place. Coates up onto a podium here. I know he'd love a podium interview, but so too with Matt Richards, who's lost out on the podium position, but will try and fight back. Brad Hutchison in the mix as well, trying to come in, but Max Coates up to 3rd. Tobin Lee still the leader. Alex Toth-Jones lonely in 2nd place, and this is the battle for 3rd. The clock has run down, so they're going to be going. I didn't see when the clock actually expired. I don't know if you did, Anthony.
I'm afraid I didn't. I was watching the racing instead.
Yeah, me too. I think they're going to get to the end of this lap and then on to the final lap. So
I think that's right.
Cool, thanks for that. So Max Coates in 3rd and on for some decent points here as he climbs uphill up towards Coppice. Slowing car on the inside line, and Max has broken the toe a little bit here from Matt Richards.
Yes.
And Matt coming under pressure from Brad Hutchison, who would dearly love to get a podium as well. Are we safe enough to say, without the curse of the commentator, that Tobin Lee and Alex Toth-Jones are going to get 1 and 2 here?
Well, I think unless one of them runs out of fuel, I think you're probably right.
Yeah, and that is a possibility, isn't it? Because the drivers have to judge that amongst other things, don't they?
They do indeed, absolutely, and they've been warned very carefully. They must not be running out on track. So, no, absolutely, but it's always possible.
Here comes Coates then, 3rd position for the man from Scorton.
Looks like the setup's working well for him at the end of the race.
Yeah, that's good for him, as Tom Williams carries on, 10th position for the number 19. Then it's Dave Marshall, Max Bird in behind him. Lewis Brown at the head of this group, as you can see. Yellow, black and white chasing Isaac Smith, who is 8th. So Tom Williams. Tom would probably like to have another race after this one, another top 10 reverse, wouldn't he, as he's in 10th place, but that's not going to be today. He's going to have to come out on the Indy circuit at Bratt. I'll tell you what, we were talking
That's
about
going to be busy.
we were talking about crowded circuit earlier on. Bratt Indy circuit's going to be very busy, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably only about half of Donington in terms of distance.
Yeah.
So it's going to be extraordinarily busy.
So the final lap here of our 4th race of the day of the inaugural Mini Challenge E-Series here on the Donington Park configuration. Tobin Lee is going to take the win, but we're watching Lewis Brown still putting pressure on Isaac Smith for 8th position. Don't think he's going to do it, but the winner is Tobin Lee. Congratulations to him. Alex Toth-Jones 2nd. Max Coates completes the podium with Brad Hutchison in 4th place ahead of Matt Richards. Then Jack MacIntyre, good points for him again. Rob Butler in 7th, Isaac Smith 8th, Lewis Brown in 9th from Tom Williams in 10th. So let's have a quick scribble of who we've got. We're going to get some new names in the commentary box to chat to, which is great to hear. And I know that the background producers are going to be busy going away to work out the championship points as well, so that we can give you some sort of provisional update before we go. And it is a complicated point scenario because every finishing driver gets points ranging from 50 for a win down to 20th position 15 points, and then every other finisher gets 15 points. But if you non-finish, you don't get any, so you're potentially losing 15 points every time you have a non-finish.
Yeah, DNFs will really hurt people. That's the key.
Yeah, and that's absolutely right, isn't it? It's about, people want to see cars finishing the races.
Yeah, it's all really, that's part of the real world championship strategy, is just to encourage people to understand that finishing rate matters.
Absolutely right. So Tobin Lee, our winner, as we look at the 36 car. Tobin is parked up. Now he will join us in our virtual commentary box very shortly, having taken that win. Alex Toth-Jones is there. We'll grab the winner first and do 1, 2, 3. Having said that, if we have a long wait for Tobin to join us, I tell you what, do you know what? I'm going to go to the second place driver, because I can see that Alex is in the commentary group already. So Alex Toth-Jones, 2nd position. I hope you can hear us. Firstly, congratulations on a great drive to 2nd place. Don't forget to push the button to chat. And a good bounce back from some frustrations earlier on.
Yeah, the first race wasn't the best, but yeah, it's good to show the pace towards the end. Tobin was completely clear at that point by the time I've got through. But yeah, this mini challenge is turning out to be really close. I'm loving it.
It was we were saying through the course of that one, that the previous race where I think you got tagged, Max had a big save going down through the Craners and just tagged you, which put you off a potential podium in one of the earlier races. So must be good to get a podium here for MSL as well.
Yeah, obviously it's nice to have the title sponsor on the side of the car. But yeah, I thought I was on for a podium, but unfortunately, sim racing gets close at times. But main house, that's all.
Nice one, well done for that. I think Tobin's with us in the comments boxes now, so push the button to talk. Tobin, congratulations on your win, and welcome to Victory Lane.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's been a really mixed set of races for me. I don't think I've ever had such a mixed bag of results like my entire time in sim racing. But yeah, it was good fun, and I think that last race was a nice way to end the weekend. Really.
You've been at the front, on the timing screens on pretty much everything we have. Maybe give us a quick synopsis, if you would, of your 4 races.
Yeah, I'd say race 1 started pretty well. I think basically I had a bit of an issue with. I realised I'd done a few too many. I'd left the track too many times too early on, and I ended up basically just having to really back off to ensure I didn't get a drive-through penalty that is standardised for everyone. So it was a mistake on my end, and then I back myself up into everyone else, but managed to hold on to P3, which is pretty good. And then the reverse grid was crazy, really. That's the way to, I got caught up in some pretty big crashes, and it was just, I was just a recovery from that point on. But then race 3 was really good. The pace was awesome. And I really enjoyed racing with Dave, especially. That racing was awesome up at the front. And unfortunately, again, I got tagged in that race as well, which is a bit of a shame, but still, it was good fun. And then that last race was pretty spot on. So it's mixed, but promising, I think.
That's great. We look forward to seeing you up at the sharp end again for future rounds. Very competitive championship. We need to have a word with our driver who was in third place. He's in the commentary booth with us, Max Coates. Congratulations, Max, on third position. Up and down day though, all round.
Oh, I think the other three races were ones to forget about, to be honest. So we plenty of pace, and I think I had a bit of a problem in the first two races. I was live streaming as well, and I think that was taking up a bit of my internet. So the PC or seemed to all be a bit laggy, and then I think I kind of showed my pace in the second set of races. Really,
is that a new one for the ebook of drivers' excuses?
Yeah, that's my first driver excuse in Canada Sim World, I think. So
and again, you know I'm only putting you leg back, so
yeah, it was hard, to be honest. I had good pace in race one. I was battling with Alex and Brad. Brad seemed a little bit wild into the last corner, to be honest. And I don't know whether I got tapped round or whether it was me coming back through and tapping them that sent me round. But I had to come back from pretty much last 2 laps into race 3 to come to a podium in race 4. So yeah, it was certainly fun.
Well, that's good. It's been an amazing day for us. So, Anton, any questions for our top 3?
Well, I think that just Max, as you're on it's a good result for a pretty difficult weekend racing up until then. I'd sort of said earlier on that I was expecting to see you right up there racing front runners, and in the end you managed to pull that together. But interesting to hear the race to drivers book of excuses getting that 1 page longer.
Yeah, it's a new one for the sim world, but it's it's very much the case. I think a few people had a few issues like that, but this is the start of the journey, and hopefully we can work to resolve that in the future.
Yeah, to be fair, I had a couple of we had a couple of issues with the signal here, and I want to thank Anthony for stepping in and when I had those issues, mate. Top job, thank you so much for that.
No, I hope I didn't embarrass myself too much when I took over.
Top job, mate. Really appreciate it, and sorry for the problems that we had, but no, it was really good to have you alongside. And what a first day! Superb, wasn't it?
Really good racing. Very, very enjoyable. And you really get into it and see the skill of people, the way they are able to, even though they haven't physically got a car beside them, to race so close and so fairly in the most part. Although, as always with single mate racing, there was a bit of contact, which is unfortunate, but almost inevitable when people are so closely matched and fighting for the same bits of tarmac. So here we got a championship table up.
Yeah, we have, and it's Dave Marshall who's top of the tree, 10 points clear of Josh Hislop. So let's put the 10 points in perspective for you. Remember, it's 50 points for a win, 44 for second, and 40 points for third place. So basically, the difference between first and second is the difference between first and third in a race. So it looks like a big gap, but it's actually a pretty close gap. And as we get further down the table, things get even closer between the other drivers. So after Dave and Josh, it's Tobin Lee, winner of our 4th race, who is in 3rd. Jack Mack is 4th. Jack MacIntrye on 137. Jordan Brennan, he's had a consistent day today. Well done to the Bear, with 5th place, 126 points, jointly with Alex Toth-Jones, who we heard from there on the podium, just 4 points further behind, and 4 drivers all on 121 points. Brad Hutchison, Rob Butler, Luke Kidsley, and Josh Martin. That's the top 10 as we head to our racing next Saturday, 30th of May, on the Indy Circuit, Brands Hatch. Anthony, as we already said, it's going to be very tight in qualifying there. Such a tight circuit, so close, but an iconic track, Brands Hatch Indy, one to look forward to.
Oh no, absolutely, it is going to be incredibly interesting. The Paddock Hill Bend challenges that the races in the real world face are also simulated in the sim world. But the idea of 35 cars piling into Paddock Hill Bend on that one, well, it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be an E-Festival, isn't it? Many thanks to all of the people that have helped put this together. So many people have put work in today. But that's the first event on the official Mini Challenge E-Series with Virtual Reality Racing Club complete. Again, everybody, thank you so much for taking part, B, watching and helping us out here. Well done. We look forward to your company again next week. Thanks for watching and bye for now. Stay safe.